So what, Glenn? It was $100.
Go under the hood, Saturdays at noon on iFIBER ONE Newsradio, AM 1030 and FM 1033. Alex Jones and InfoWars on from 6 to 9, weekdays on iFIBER ONE Newsradio, AM 1030 and FM 1033, KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Karen Chase. Bernie Sanders has an appointment with President Obama at the White House today in what the president calls an informal meeting. His visit comes as his poll numbers rise in what he calls his nip-and-tuck battle with Hillary Clinton. The latest Quinnipiac poll shows Sanders leading Clinton 49 to 45% in Iowa. ABC's Andy Field has the latest national numbers.
The poll says Clinton and Sanders are virtually tied when it comes to voters saying who is closer to them on the issues. But Hillary Clinton is still far ahead of Bernie Sanders for Democrats who've made a choice. 55% like her, 36% Sanders. Sanders has made remarkable gains, jumping 8 points in the last month.
Donald Trump says he'll hold a fundraiser for veterans rather than attend tomorrow night's Republican presidential debate. He's boycotting it to protest the inclusion of moderator Megyn Kelly, who asked him pointed questions in a previous debate. We get the latest from ABC's Kenneth Motion.
Donald Trump versus Fox News and his anchor Megyn Kelly again.
Megyn Kelly's really biased against me.
Kelly responded on her show last night saying her question to Trump in the first debate about his treatment of women was fair.
I maintain it was a tough but fair question, and we agreed to disagree.
This morning, Trump fired back in a tweet. I refuse to call Megyn Kelly a bimbo. Instead, I will call her a lightweight reporter. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, Washington.
A Louisiana sheriff's deputy serving a drug warrant was shot 5 times and is in a New Orleans hospital. The suspected shooter is in custody. Anticipation is mounting ahead of a statement from the Fed at the wrap-up of its 2-day meeting in Washington. After its last meeting, the Fed raised interest rates. Since then, global markets have been extremely volatile under the weight of dropping oil prices and uncertainty about China. It's a shakedown cruise. Amtrak and the Southern Rail Commission will board an inspection train for a tour of the tracks to consider the feasibility of restoring train service between Orlando and New Orleans for the first time since Hurricane Katrina damaged the tracks. This is ABC News.
Advance Auto Parts knows what makes a car guy a car guy. It's the commitment to maintain an engine through the 300,000-mile mark. It's burning the midnight oil to finish a job most guys would rather hand off. It's loyalty, and it's why there's speed perks from Advance Auto Parts. Spend $100 and get $20 off your next qualified purchase. No cards, no points, no nonsense. Advance Auto Parts, for guys who love getting under the hood.
See store to sign up or visit speedperks.com for details.
Control, do you like mortgages? Negative, over. Do you like rockets? Affirmative, over. Do you like rocket mortgages? I'm listening, over. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that turns the entire mortgage process into a fast, powerful, completely online experience. Copy that, QL1. I'm going to go ahead and push this button in 3, 2, 1. Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket. Equal housing lender. License and offer state and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 33.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. New regulations for marijuana growers, processors, and retailers in Shelton are expected to get the Shelton City Commission's final approval next Monday. The new regulations reduce the required buffer zone from 1,000 feet to 500 feet between growers, retailers, and public facilities such as schools, government buildings, and parks. The ordinance proposed by City Director of Community and Economic Development Steve Goins would amend the city code to allow marijuana producers and processors to operate within commercial and industrial zones. Mayor Gary Krantz and Commissioners Tracy Moore and Kathy McDowell each voiced favor for regulations that would require growers and processors inside the city to contain marijuana plant odors within their indoor growing operations. Mayor Krantz said approving the new regulations is one of the most difficult decisions he's made in 4 years, adding that the city has to be open to business to generate tax revenues that support services. The item will be placed on the commissioner's agenda at 7 p.m. next Monday for final approval. The city of Shelton is expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator by midsummer. The new city administrator would fill the position being left open by Dave O'Leary. Vicki Locke, management assistant for the city, presented a city administrator recruitment schedule that would have the job being advertised by mid-March. Candidate screening and background checks would take place by late April or mid-May. The finalists could be interviewed by the commissioners and the public during a community event by mid to late May. 35th District Representative Dan Griffey stopped by Daybreak to talk about the past week in the legislature. Dan clarified his position and the intent of his elder visitation bill.
I want to clear it up there. My bill doesn't force visitation.
Sure.
It allows for a second look, and I think it's time. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there's way too many family members that profit from the elderly and the people that can't take care of themselves. And I think that's terrible, and we have to do something about it. We had a very vibrant hearing. Carrie Kasem, a very neat lady, Casey Kasem's daughter, love her to death. She is so dynamic, and she's able to articulate her position very well. So it was a great hearing. Now, after the hearing, we have to keep putting on the pressure to make sure we exec that bill, get it out of committee, and hopefully we can get it on the floor.
The goal of the bill is to prevent elder abuse and isolation. Hear the full interview on the Daybreak page at iFIBER1newsradio.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
The Dave Ramsey Show, where common sense meets dollars and cents.
Patrick in Texas says, my wife thinks we should have an emergency credit card. How can I explain to her that this is a terrible idea? Well, the last time on earth that you need to go into debt at 18% interest would be at a time when your family has an emergency. What you need is money. If you had $20,000 set aside for an emergency fund, you wouldn't need an emergency credit card, right?
The Dave Ramsey Show, weekdays from noon to 3 on iFIBER One News Radio.
Is your family doing some growing? Whether it's an expansion of your home or the addition of a new family car, Peninsula Credit Union can provide fast, friendly service with terrific rates. We offer personal lines of credit, affordable auto loans, and a variety of home loan options to get you moving. Visit our offices in Shelton, Belfair, Paulsbo, Port Orchard, and Port Townsend, or go online to pcfcu.org. At Peninsula Credit Union, our priority is you.
Well, good morning for iFIBER One News Radio. It's a Wednesday, the 27th of January, 6:07. I'm Jeff Slakey, along with Carol Gardner.
Good morning.
Guten Morgen.
How is it?
It's awesome. How's the weather forecast right now?
It's about 48. There's some showers.
Okay. We have got a great report for you off of last night's North Mason game. Trey Fisher had a game-high 21 points as North Mason knocked off Squim in an overtime thriller. The sophomore Fisher had the first 5 points of the extra period as the Bulldogs outscored the Wolves 11-5 in OT. Junior Kevin Burrell-Briggs checked in with 16 points for North Mason, while senior Dalton Geyer added 14. Be sure to check out the website later today, as sports director Sean Wells will have full video highlights of the contest, including an interview with North Mason head coach Steve Hackett. Police Chief Steve Milet has defended his department's investigations into a car crash involving Seattle Seahawks fullback Derek Coleman, saying his confidence level is, quote, rock solid in the investigation and charging recommendations. Bellevue police have recommended charges of vehicular assault and hit and run against Coleman and has forwarded the case to King County prosecutors. Coleman arrested on the 14th of October after a crash that left the driver of the other vehicle with a broken collarbone and a concussion. Tonight on iFIBER One News Radio, we've got a video cast for you on iFIBER1newsradio.com. Sean Wells will have it for you on the website. 6:09 now, and we're moving to the weather forecast, and here's Carol.
Good morning. It's 48. Showers this morning, becoming steady rain during the afternoon and into the evening. High today near 55. Rain for the rest of the week, and Super Bowl outlook, if you're going to be tailgating, is going to be in the low 50s with a chance of rain.
I don't know if they let you tailgate in San Francisco.
I'm talking about here.
I always am tailgating.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South South's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Well, good morning to you. 6:10 here at iFIBER One News Radio. Jeff and Carol on a Wednesday morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm well. We got the video working again, so you can tune in and check it out. We got a great show for you today as well. 7:15, 35th District, Drew McEwen, 35th District Rep Drew McEwen will be with us at 7:15. Transit Talk with Kathy Geist today will be in with Mason Transit and the Transit Community Center, along with a writer. Will be in at 8:15 and Port of Call at 8:45. What's the top story on iFIBER1newsradio.com this morning, Carol?
Looks like city permit fee cuts are still being debated.
Oh.
The city's director of community economic development proposed reductions in the building permit fees in an attempt to boost construction in Shelton. So Steve Goins proposed a 30% reduction in building fees and a 55% reduction in water and sewer charges and traffic impact fees for new homes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the mayor is totally behind it. Commissioner McDowell's behind it. Commissioner Moore is sort of worried because she's worried that the community is going to go backwards, that we might make the same mistakes that were done over the past generations, because somebody has to pay, I guess, for the cuts, and she doesn't want to see the ratepayers subsidizing the development.
Okay.
And Krantz and McDowell say, well, they can do it for a year. Let's see what happens.
Interesting. And this is a little different as opposed to a straight 0%. Now, a 30% reduction is what Steve is talking about.
30% and 55%.
But as opposed to just wiping them off for a year. Remember?
Right.
Because that was the initial thing.
Was that the initial one?
I believe
just
that
to
was.
completely wipe them off?
Yeah, for a year, see what happens. Also, the city administrator recruitment moves ahead. The city expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find the next city administrator. Dave O'Leary will be done at the end of May, and he's been on the job after about 11 years. Good for him. Latest news stories are... How does this work on the latest news stories on iFIBER1newsradio.com? Are these the stories that most people are reading this morning or commenting, or just the most recent stories posted?
Well, they are the latest news posted after the front page story. So the front page is obviously the main story.
And there were 2 dead and 3 wounded in a gunfire at the local Seattle homeless encampment. Seattle Times reports the shooting happened last night near Airport Way South and South Atlantic Street, south of downtown. Police are searching for at least one person connected with the incident. We'll be right back after this. It's Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
I'm Ari Wolf with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Optimism continues to surround Thomas Davis's return to the Panthers starting lineup. After breaking his arm during the NFC Championship game, the Carolina linebacker guaranteed that he would play in the Super Bowl. On Tuesday, Coach Ron Rivera told Sirius XM NFL Radio that, quote, they did surgery yesterday, put the plate in, he's healing up nicely. We'll see how he is at the end of the week, but I would not bet against Thomas Davis, unquote. Broncos safety T.J. Ward aggravated an ankle sprain in the AFC Championship game, but NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported that Ward is good to play in Super Bowl 50. The Eagles have agreed to terms on a 3-year contract with tight end Brent Selleck that will keep the 9-year vet in Philly through 2018. And Rappaport is also reporting that the 49ers will hire Jim O'Neill as their defensive coordinator, according to a source involved with the situation. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
QL1, does Rocket Mortgage require me to fill out a bunch of paperwork? Negative control. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that quickly imports your financial data. You can go through the entire mortgage approval process in minutes. That is fast, like rocket fast. It also works on any internet-ready device, so you can get a Rocket Mortgage at any time or place you choose. Over.
3, 2, 1,
Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket.
Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Geico applauds your inner happy camper. A merit badge of awesomeness goes out to the part of you that wants to put the recreation in recreational vehicle. The part of you that packs up everything and everybody in the RV and says, let's get this show on the road. Because Geico has specialized agents who help save money on more than just car insurance. Geico will insure that entire RV, so you can get the s'more making, poison ivy dodging, same song singing, ghost storytelling, campfire building, best time you ever had with your family show on the road. Geico for your RV. See how much you could save.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
All right, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER ONE and 6:15. Still going over some of the things on the website this morning. Drew McEwen at 7:15, 35th District Rep from Union, and 8:15 Transit Talk and Port of Call at 8:45. Under the odds and ends section, Carol, which is now under entertainment on the website. Interesting story here. What is this about?
Well, a year ago or so, we had a letter to the editor about the Toccoa Railway, or it's actually this John Wayne Pioneer Trail, and and it's the Toccoa Railway Group that is trying to preserve it. It's one of the longest rail trail conversions in the United States, extending about 253 miles across the state of Washington.
So this is like when we had rail all over the place. They took some of the rail and turned it into a trail.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So what this group wants to do is just wants you to be able to go on the trail without having to require a special permit, because you have to obtain a special permit, and then you have to give it to like every rancher that's along the trail, and you have to produce your papers. And I mean, it's supposed to be an outdoor recreation, and so that's what they're trying to do. And they're going to be in Olympia for the Great Outdoors Legislative Day tomorrow. So
last year, it says here in the odds and ends section, the state legislature closed 135 miles of trail and gave away a property it had once purchased for $3 million to adjacent landowners at no cost. What?
Yeah.
Done without any public notice behind closed doors as part of the final budget negotiations.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know. So stuff goes on, and if nobody's paying attention, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, but
come on. It can be a little.
Well, you're out, wanting to, and we sort of have seen some of the recreation, some of the places get closed a little bit. So these guys really think this is a great opportunity for people to get out.
Is this shared on our Facebook page?
Yeah, we'll share it on our Facebook page.
No,
okay.
Has it already?
No.
Okay. Also, on our regional section, there's a couple other stories. A group from JBLM is heading over to, sorry, you have something else here. The Cascadia earthquake 316 years ago, and normally they happen every, 240 years? Is that what I heard the other day in the news with Nick Scott in the afternoon?
I thought this was like the 500-year one that these guys are talking about.
Oh, maybe.
It's hard to say, but 300 years ago, there was the magnitude 9 megathrust earthquake that ripped a 1,000-kilometer tear. Kilometer? Am I saying that word right? Off the American coast, shaking and flooding land from British Columbia to California. So, of course, I think we talked about this when I was doing the Great Shakeout stuff in October when I came in here when you and Dale were there, and we were talking about how they figured out they didn't even realize that it actually had happened, and so they started putting all the history pieces together that this huge quake actually happened in this area.
Yeah, they say the oral traditions of the Quileute and Ho tribes describes it as the night the thunderbird and the whale fought, shaking the mountains and uprooting the trees and covering the land with ocean water.
Do you read books, Kaiser?
I did not last night.
Oh, well, you should.
That's how you tell these stories.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you pass down these oral traditions.
Right. So all that was happening here, and then what we didn't realize back then, obviously, was in Japan, because Japan is very good at taking records of stuff that's happened. They told of this orphan tsunami in 1700, and they didn't know where it came from. And then when they put it all together, they figured out it was from that earthquake, and it shot all the way across to Japan. Yeah.
Check that out under the Environment tab. Also, a little video that you can watch as well. 6:19 on a Wednesday morning, and JBLM is preparing to send one of its artillery units to Iraq and Kuwait to help fight the Islamic State, group, I should say. The News Trib reports that the U.S. Army 101st Airborne Division is heading to Iraq to work with the country's arms and with Kurdish Peshmerga fighters. They'll be joining about 3,500 U.S. military service members in Iraq there. The Defense Secretary Ash Carter outlined a plan earlier this month to help Iraq reclaim the land the Islamic State seized almost 2 years ago, including a key city of Mosul. More news now on the man in Renton. Carol, what's the latest on this guy?
Well, he's a 29-year-old man, and he was charged with third-degree assault for allegedly firing a handgun inside a Renton movie theater. So what happened was Dane Gillian of Newcastle, he has a concealed pistol license. He was in the theater because he brought his gun because he was afraid of mass shootings. So he's carrying his gun everywhere with him. And then when he accidentally dropped his gun, shot a woman's collarbone, shattered it, he left the theater because then he was worried that everybody was going to think he was the mass shooting suspect.
Sure. And other people then with guns would then be a big circular firing.
Yeah, everybody would start shooting because nobody would know who the shooter was. So.
Because everybody's packing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And then he dropped the gun, right?
That's what he said. He said he dropped the gun. And it went off.
Oh, no. After he left, didn't he dump the gun?
No, he dumped the cartridge or the...
magazine.
Magazine. So.
Also, on the heels of news that there was a shooting and a death down in Oregon with the federal agents at that ranch that those people, the Bundys, are down there.
Exactly.
Another news story about assaulting federal agents. This time comes from Linden as a Whatcom County man who now must spend 8 months in prison and pay a $10,000 fine for intentionally driving his truck at 2 U.S. Border Patrol agents near his home just south of the Canadian border. U.S. District Judge James Robart called Wayne Groen's actions deeply disturbing before ordering his sentence on Monday. Groen was convicted in a 2011 shining high-powered spotlights at Custom and Border Protection helicopters to keep them from flying over his Linden home. Indicted in August after threatening agents with his truck. His wife said the agents were setting up cameras across from their home, and Groen sped past them. 6:22 here at iFIBER One News Radio. We'll take a quick break and we'll come right back after this. Drew McEwen at 7:15. Transit Talk with Kathy Geist this morning. Brad's on special assignment. And then Port of Call at 8:45. We'll be right back after this.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom31.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom31.com. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom31.com.
From the iFIBER One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER One and AM 1030 and FM 1033. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Oh man, I'm so excited for today.
Why?
So I got to leave work a little early. Not the show, but work in general. heading up to the North Mason Chamber of Commerce. They're having their luncheon. And so I'm going to get up there, and Chief Deputy Ryan Sperling is going to be up there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty coincidental that Dale makes me go up there the day the old deputy's there. But whatever, that's fine. That'll be a fun conversation that he's going to have, and then I'll talk a little bit about the station and what we plan on doing and things like that. So that's this afternoon up at the North Mason Chamber of Commerce. Hope to see some of you there. I got to leave right at 1, though, because I got to get to Kaiser by 2. That's my only... I wish I could hobnob a little bit more, but unfortunately I can't. All right, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER 1, 625, and one of the interesting new news notes that I found comes from California, and repeated storms are giving Californians just what they need. The State Department of Water Resources now reporting the snowpack in the Sierra Mountains is at 115% of average, and that's the highest reading since 2011. Wow, good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we looking these days for us with the snowpack, or just the amount of the depths at some of these more popular skied places?
Well, Crystal Mountain, 83 inches at the summit. Mount Baker, 153
Wow.
Inches. Yeah, they're doing great up there. Stevens Pass is 94, White Pass 93 inches. And the summit, 90 inches.
And the summit is the tippy top, the very top of the mountain, or the summit is the highest place that you can then ski down from, you think? Do you know?
I don't know. I would imagine it's the top part.
Okay. Very cool. Well, good news for California, and we are continuing to get pummeled here. 2 inches of rain or so today. Is that kind of what we're thinking about?
That's what they have been predicting.
So when it's raining heavy here, we're hoping for major, over 2 inches now. Change that to 2 1/4 or so. Major snow up in the mountains, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. It's pretty warm down here, though, so.
We'll see. All right, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at 6:26 on the website. Excuse me, tonight we have a video cast for you of high school basketball, and it is a Shelton girls game, and Sean Wells will have the calls for you. It is tonight versus Mount Tahoma. There's just 4 games left in the regular season for the high climbers that we'll have on video cast for you. 3 girls games and 1 boys game to wrap up the rest of the time here. And then Sean Wells is going to be out and about and getting to know the kids that are involved in spring sports. So that's going to be a lot of fun, as just before you know it, we're going to be moving into wrestling tomorrow night. Sean is going to go up to Lincoln High School in Tacoma because Shelton's wrestling team is 6-0. What? Lincoln is 6-0 as well. Something's got to give. This is the final regular match of the regular season.
Can only be one, unfortunately.
There can be only one winner. And we're hoping it's Shelton. Sean will be there doing all the coverage. So we'll have a great piece on Friday about that. So, 627 here at iFIBER 1 News Radio, and coming up, Drew McEwen will talk about things that are happening in the legislature. We talked with Dan Griffey yesterday. You can see that conversation on our, listen to that conversation on our Daybreak page. Also, make note of the politics page under the news tab, where Carol has put together a nice reference sheet of people's phone numbers, including Drew McEwen's, Tim Sheldon's, and Dan Griffey, and our U.S. representative in the 6th District, that's Derek Kilmer, who we talk to monthly. It is Wednesday, the 27th, and there is a 2 1/4 inches of rain scheduled throughout the day today. So we're looking at maybe some road closures. Carol, what do you have?
Well, I just have from the Mason County Public Works an emergency road closure on the lower portion of the Elfendal Pass Road. That's just going to happen today from 7:30 to 4. Right now there's a road closure on Satsup Qualam Road. They should have obviously signs out. And right now, I haven't heard, but the Skoke Valley Road has been closed, so due to flooding. But right now, it's only about a little over 16 feet. I think 16 feet is the norm
16,
for the
16
river.
and a half is the low flood stage.
Yeah,
17
so
and a half
right now there's nothing going on with the road. So great. We will keep an eye out on it.
ABC News coming up at 7 o'clock. First, we got to get there with Mary Lynn Foster providing us with the latest and local. ABC Sports on the way as well. And more coming up as we check the forecasts here on iFIBER One News Radio. A wet day indeed. Carol will have the totals. Well, she'll have the totals tomorrow, but she'll have the details in a little bit.
Listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Local news is brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service. FredHolmesTreeService.com, 427-4489.
From the iFIBER One News Radio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. New regulations for marijuana growers, processors, and retailers in Shelton are expected to get the Shelton City Commission's final approval next Monday. The new regulations reduce the required buffer zone from 1,000 feet to 500 feet between growers, retailers, and public facilities such as schools, government buildings, and parks. The ordinance proposed by City Director of Community and Economic Development Steve Goins would amend the city code to allow marijuana producers and processors to operate within commercial and industrial zones. Mayor Gary Krantz and Commissioners Tracy Moore and Kathy McDowell each voiced favor for regulations that would require growers and processors inside the city to contain marijuana plant odors within their indoor growing operations. Mayor Krantz said approving the new regulations is one of the most difficult decisions he's made in 4 years, adding that the city has to be open to business to generate tax revenues that support services. The item will be placed on the commissioner's agenda at 7 p.m. next Monday for final approval. The city of Shelton is expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator by midsummer. The new city administrator would fill the position being left open by Dave O'Leary. Vicki Locke, management assistant for the city, presented a city administrator recruitment schedule that would have the job being advertised by mid-March. Candidate screening and background checks would take place by late April or mid-May. The finalists could be interviewed by the commissioners and the public during a community event by mid to late May. 35th District Representative Dan Griffey stopped by Daybreak to talk about the past week in the legislature. Dan clarified his position and the intent of his elder visitation bill.
I want to clear it up there. My bill doesn't force visitation.
Sure.
It allows for a second look, and I think it's time. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there's way too many family members that profit from the elderly and the people that can't take care of themselves, and I think that's terrible, and we have to do something about it. We had a very vibrant hearing. Carrie Kasem, a very neat lady, Casey Kasem's daughter, love her to death. She is so dynamic, and she's able to articulate her position very well. So it was a great hearing. Now, after the hearing, we have to keep putting on the pressure to make sure we exec that bill, get it out of committee, and hopefully we can get it on the floor.
The goal of the bill is to prevent elder abuse and isolation. Hear the full interview on the Daybreak page at iFIBER1newsradio.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
Hi, I'm Ken Slater, the Roof Doctor. If you're like me, your family's important, so make sure that they're well taken care of. One of the best ways to do that is to provide a safe and warm home to live in. For over 50 years, the Roof Doctor has been helping families stay safe and warm by building roofs that last for generations. Our teams have some of the most experienced roofers in the area, and we only use the highest quality materials to keep your family safe, warm, and dry. That's the Roof Doctor. Give us a call.
Dirk does it again. I'm Dave Packer reporting on sports. Some clutch shooting on the hardwood Tuesday night. First in the pros, where Dirk Nowitzki does it one more time for the Mavericks.
Dirk trying to get it off the right of the lane. Randall right there on him. 7, 6, 5. Checks the clock. 4. Ripping through. Right baseline. Fade away. Good! With 2.1 seconds left. He did it again.
On KESN as Dirk leads the Mavs past the Lakers 92-90. Meanwhile, in the college ranks, Darius Thompson finishes off a furious rally for Virginia.
Into Hall.
He bounces it up, and a three for the win is in! And Virginia has apparently stunned Wake Forest on a three by Thompson. Oh, my!
On ESPN, as the 11th-ranked Cavaliers scored 14 points in the final minute of play to get past Wake Forest 72-71. Back to the NBA, where the Los Angeles Clippers will be without star forward Blake Griffin after he broke a bone in his hand when throwing a punch at the team's assistant equipment manager. Head coach Doc Rivers met with the media before his team's game on Tuesday in Indiana to discuss the incident.
We have to move forward. We have to, figure out the best way to deal with this.
Griffin is expected to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks. As for the Clippers game against the Pacers, Chris Paul took control late.
Chris goes to work, picked up by Paul George. Crouching over. He's right on the circle. He lets it fly from 19 to set on the air. Oh, my goodness, he does it again.
On KFWB, as LA escapes with a 91-89 win, Paul finished with 26 points. Elsewhere in the NBA, the Sixers got the best of the Suns, 113-103. It was Miami 102, Brooklyn 98. The Thunder took down the Knicks 122-119 in overtime. Toronto bested Washington 106-89. Milwaukee defeated Orlando 107-100. And Portland got past Sacramento 112-97. Dave Packer, ABC Sports.
The craziness is returning to the kennel.
Wiltshire behind his back with a dribble, and he scores. Got Karnowski to his left, pulls up, shoots, scores, and a foul.
Zags basketball from IMG.
Corner, Nelson driving baseline and a two-handed throw down dunk. Oh my goodness, Silas Nelson.
From tip-off to the final buzzer.
And throws it down with two hands.
Follow the action all season long on your home for Bulldogs basketball, the Gonzaga IMG Sports Network.
For iFIBER One News Radio, good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Hello.
Good morning.
Got sports in a minute, but first, what's the weather look like out there right now?
Oh, it's 48 and showers on and off this morning.
Trey Fisher had a game-high 21 points as North Mason knocked off Squim in an overtime thriller. Sophomore Fisher had the first 5 points of the extra period as the Bulldogs outscored the Wolves 11-5 in OT. Junior Kevin Burrell-Briggs checked in with 16 points for North Mason, while senior Dalton Geyer added 14. Be sure to check out website later today, as sports director Sean Wells will have full video highlights of the contest, including an interview with North Mason head coach Steve Hackett. Police Chief Steve Milet has defended his department's investigation into the car crash involving Seahawks fullback Derek Coleman. He thinks his investigation is rock solid, and the charging recommendations that followed that. This was after an October 14th arrest after a crash that left a driver of another vehicle with a broken collarbone and a concussion. Tonight on iFiber1newsradio.com, Sean Wells has a high school video cast for you. It's Lady High Climbers and Mount Tahoma. Looking also at the Shelton sports schedule for today being the 27th, and we have the girls basketball team here at Shelton. The boys will head to Mount Tahoma, and tonight during the girls game at the Mini Dome, the players in progress will perform during the halftime, and that will all be part of the video cast. Other than that, that's about it for sports right now. Carol has a look at the weather.
Good morning. It's 48. Showers this morning, becoming steady. Rain during the afternoon and into the evening. High today near 55. Rain for the rest of the week. Super Bowl outlook, if you're going to be tailgating, which I guess when you tailgate, you don't have to actually have a truck. You can just sit outside, right?
You don't even really have to have a ticket to tailgate. I know plenty of people that never even had a ticket to a game.
Yeah,
they've been at every tailgate party ever.
But I wonder there'll probably be people just going to Super Bowl parties, even though we're not.
And nobody's tailgating. Nobody's going to tailgate here, will they?
I don't know.
Super Bowl parties for sure.
But we might be outside barbecuing.
You're right. It is going to be 50 or whatever. Is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You, From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor, your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Coming up in just about half an hour or so, 35th District Representative Drew McEwen at 7:15. Also Transit Talk today, and Kathy Geist is going to come in for Mason Transit and the Transit Community Center, along with a writer of MTA. So we'll talk with them about the services at 8:15 and Port of Call at 8:45. Some of the lead stories on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.com. You check out under the local tab. You see that the city has been talking about the permit fees. Initially, there had been conversations about eliminating them totally for a year to see what would happen, spurring growth. And Steve Goings has come back with a 30% reduction in building fees and over 50% reduction in water and sewer charges and traffic impact fees for new homes. So this is kind of ways to get both sides a little closer to each other. And I think Gary, who first brought forth this proposal, he says he's comfortable with this, wants to get things moving. He wants some development to happen. So that is the whole story there on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.com. And the recruitment moves ahead as they're looking to get a firm to hire a new city administrator here in the city. It is 6:40 here, and in a couple of moments we'll live the country life. And just after that, we'll tell you a little bit more about the Super Bowl, and the halftime is coming up, and Coldplay as the headliners, but either Beyonce or Rihanna is going to join them. And there's also probably, I'm sure, a couple more surprises. There always are.
There always are. There's always something. Super Bowl. Have you seen any of the commercials yet?
No. They have Super Bowl commercials already?
Well, you can preview some of them, yeah.
What is the point? These folks pay $5 million for a 30-second ad in the commercials at the Super Bowl. And then they release them early, I guess, to get people buzzing about, because it is, for some folks, it's a one-shot deal.
Right.
One day.
I don't think you can see the whole commercial. Maybe, but they've released a few previews.
I heard PETA release something that was kind of graphic.
Really?
Did not get approved.
Oh, well.
But interesting. Those are always so good. What are the good ones? Doritos?
Doritos is
Bud Light is a good one.
Yeah, Bud Light.
Budweiser.
Yeah, the horses.
I remember there's a new 30 for 30 out about the Buffalo Bills and that time when they lost the 4 Super Bowls in the 90s. And I specifically remember, this is how they get you. I specifically remember as a kid being at my grandpa's house using, what was it called? Prodigy. Do you remember Prodigy online? It was like before AOL even.
Was it?
16 color graphics. And you go on Prodigy, and he also had a TV in the computer room. And on a little 13-inch, I would watch those Buffalo Bills games. And I always remember the Bud Bowl. Remember those? They had the little bottles. That I can't believe they've not really brought that back.
Well, maybe you could do that, then pitch it for a commercial.
Yeah, but it's already been done.
So what? What about repeats, reboots, and prequels and sequels?
That's true. That's my plan then, Carol. You can't take it.
Daybreak.
Too bad.
On iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Mason County Garbage and Recycling on Johns Prairie here in Shelton is pleased to offer safe and efficient removal services. Mason County Garbage and Recycling is always mindful of environmental standards and is continuously striving for the highest excellence. Mason County Garbage and Recycling, upholding your trust within the community. Questions? Call 426-8729. In Belfair, 275-4590.
Habitat for Humanity of Mason County invites you to shop their local retail stores in Belfair and in Shelton. At Habitat for Humanity stores, you'll find amazing bargains on discounted home improvement supplies, gently used furniture, and so much more. And when you shop Habitat for Humanity, your dollars are put to work helping to improve, build, and maintain affordable housing right here in Mason County. Habitat for Humanity. Let's build a strong community together.
If you live in a cold, snowy area, you may have a problem with ice dams on the roof. Hi, I'm Jody Henke. This means you're losing heat from the house and risking water damage as you're living the country life.
Living the country life. Ideas and inspiration for your place in the country. You can find more information on today's topic and from previous shows by visiting us online at livingthecountrylife.com. We'll return to the show after these messages.
Morton Buildings, the best in the construction business since 1903. If you're ready for a new farm storage facility, insulated workshop, hobby garage, horse barn, or custom home, Morton will provide the building you'll be proud to call your own. Contact us today during Building Value Days. It's the biggest sales event of the year. Don't miss the opportunity to get the best building at the best price. Find the building of your dreams at mortonbuildings.com.
Whenever you're online, Living the Country Life is there too. Like us on Facebook and exchange tips, ideas, and recipes with thousands of people who share your love for the country life. Follow us on Twitter at Small Farming for timely news and information. Find us on Pinterest so you can pick up your latest recipes, get inspired for country decorating, and much more. And while you're out enjoying the country, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Living the Country Life MAG and tag your photos under Love Country Lifestyle.
An ice dam is a ridge of ice that forms on the edge of a roof and prevents melted snow from draining. The water that backs up behind the dam seeps under the shingles and into the home, causing damage to walls, ceilings, and insulation. Pat Hellman is a building and energy systems specialist at the University of Minnesota. He says since most ice dams form at the edge of the roof where the temperature is below freezing, this means you are losing heat from somewhere else inside the home.
If you have low levels of insulation, there's a lot of heat lost up into the attic. That can obviously warm up the entire attic, and that warm attic can warm the roof sheathing, and that roof sheathing can melt the snow. The second portion of it is air flow from the house to the attic, and that airflow could carry with it a great deal of heat. And that will be more localized, so you may have airflow around a ceiling fixture, electrical outlet.
Once an ice dam forms and water backs up, you're facing a costly repair. Using a roof rake on the ice, chopping it away, or even steaming it will cause damage to the shingles. Hellman says digging out channels in the ice dam so the water can drain off will help, but you'll have to constantly stay on top of it to be effective. The best way to avoid water damage is to prevent the ice dam altogether.
Seal the air leaks, get adequate insulation where you can, add ventilation if you need it, and then we don't have to go there again. Just kind of keep pushing that message that they are preventable. Some houses are very difficult, much more challenging, no doubt, but they are something that we can prevent with just good understanding of what's providing the heat.
The good news is that not only are you preventing damage to your home, you're also saving on your energy bill. Learn more about preventing ice dams at livingthecountrylife.com. I'll see you in the country.
Living the country life. Ideas and inspiration for your place in the country. You can find more information on today's topic, share your tips, and post photos by visiting us online.
iFIBER ONE Newsradio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
All right, good morning to you. It is a Wednesday here at iFIBER ONE News Radio. Jeff and Carol, good morning.
Good morning. What does Dale always say? Hump day.
I mean, yeah, he does say that. Remember those kind of commercials? What's the latest one? Is that Super Spy kicking people? Have you seen it yet? There's a super spy beating up on people, and there's a helicopter, and it looks like it's a movie, and then the phone rings, and it's his mother. It says mom's always call at the wrong. Now the squirrels are back. I mean, it's just a really funny commercial. Those are clever. They do get those. They do get you on those.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the Super Bowl and some commercials. Going to talk about Coldplay in a second, but Carol already has a list of some of the celebrities who are stumping for some of these products that you'll see. What do you got here?
Well, I mean, last year the Super Bowl had a record of 144 million viewers. So it's a
that's half the
huge opportunity.
Huge
for people if you can pay for the commercial because they are expensive.
$5 million, I think, for 30 seconds.
So what I've got so far is Aerosmith Steven Tyler will be walking this way for Skittles.
Okay.
Squarespace. It's a website creator, Squarespace. Have you heard of that one?
I think it's like Wix or
Okay, so
GoDaddy.
the comic comic duo Key and Peele are going to be in that one. Actor
One of those guys is funny.
Only
They're
one?
both funny, but I only know that I've seen one of them.
Oh.
I've never seen them as a duo.
You haven't?
No.
I thought there always is a duo.
Well, the bald guy, the bald one, I think there's two. One has hair and one doesn't have hair. I think the bald guy was on Pitch Perfect 2.
Oh, okay.
And he's really funny.
Okay, we'll have to.
He's the one that also was the presidential translator. Did you see that? So when President Obama got up at the correspondence dinner and he spoke and he was like, well, my fellow Americans, it's been a really long 7 years. And then he would come up and go, man, we haven't got anything done or something. It's really funny.
In the movie.
No, this was at a presidential.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was his like translator.
I did not see that. I'll have to look that up. Okay.
So those guys, they're funny.
Yeah, they are funny.
Who else?
Actor Liam Neeson will be for LG Electronics.
Probably the LG phones.
Probably the LG phones.
Who is this? I will find you. And I will get you.
Abby Wambach will sing the Mini Cooper's praises. I'm not even
Close enough.
Who is that? I don't know.
Abby Wambach. She is the blonde soccer player for. She's short blonde hair.
Okay, what do I know about that one? Christopher Walken is going to be for Kia.
Christopher Walken, that's so funny.
Yeah, he's pretty good. And then Amy Schumer and Seth Rogers are going to be in a Bud Light bottle buddies, and so maybe they're going to be doing something with your Bud Light thing that you're.
Well, they always have great commercials, but I'm just saying the Bud Bowl was something else. I tell you what.
Yeah. And comedic actor T.J. Miller will star in an ad for Shock Top Beer, a spot he's recently teased to be the greatest Super Bowl commercial of all time.
Okay.
But I think that's in the viewers.
That's good for him.
And then the Doritos thing, you could send in your thing for Doritos. This year they're going to have 3 different shots clips by the amateurs, the Dorito ones. But, you could have sent that in. They're not doing it anymore. They said last year was the last year to send in a Dorito commercial spot.
But they're doing it. They're doing it though.
Yeah, this year is the last. Yes.
Major details about Coldplay's Super Bowl halftime show. You got to keep them tightly under wraps, of course. But the director of the event did drop some hints about what we can expect. So this guy, Hamish Hamilton, love it. Also directed the halftime shows for Katy Perry, who we saw last year with that Left Shark, Beyonce, and Madonna. Tells Entertainment Weekly, I think the buzzword will be involvement. They are a band that's big on inclusion. As for those who'll be involved, well, maybe former halftime headliners, Beyonce and Bruno Mars. Hamilton also says Coldplay will be honoring the Super Bowl's 50th anniversary. The legacy of 50 Super Bowl halftimes will certainly be featured. May not be a literal thing, but you're definitely going to get a sense of 50. And there's always going to be guests. Coldplay begins rehearsals on February 3. Super Bowl 50 is just, some 12 days away, 11 days away. Carolina Panthers are playing the Denver Broncos. We'll have the game for you. We've got a massive build-up to the game, and then the game itself will be here on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com. About time for a check from the old farmer, and a CNBC Business Radio report comes at 6:58. We'll be right back after this.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
The Mid-Atlantic was bracing for an epic snowstorm on this day 1 year ago, a blizzard that never happened. Details on the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. With more practical tips and useful advice, this is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report for Wednesday, January 27th, the 27th day of the year. Composer Wolfgang Mozart was born on this day, and 1 year ago today, the Great Blizzard of 2015 hit the Northeast. A massive nor'easter brought upwards of 30 inches to some communities in coastal New England, but the storm may be most remembered as one of the biggest forecasting misses in recent memory. Based on alarming predictions, New Jersey enacted emergency measures and travel bans. When nothing more than a minor snowfall occurred, officials were left with some explaining to do, and the Weather Service was issuing apologies for the bad call. It's a good reminder of how unpredictable winter storm systems can be. The science on those, it seems, is not yet settled. That's the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. Find your local weather outlook online at almanac.com.
Alex Jones and InfoWars. Weeknights 6 to 9 on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
But they run this hoax. It's the law. No, there is no law. And they all engage in this big conspiracy because they think it's the right thing to do. And then once it starts killing people, they can never admit, oh my gosh, this is a eugenics program. This is a mass public testing program. No, no, no. There's no admissions of that. It's just make fun of anybody that talks about it and say that we're going to make everybody sick. That's all over the news now. You're going to make me sick. You take a vaccine.
iFIBER ONE News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
All right, good morning to you. Daybreak here, iFIBER ONE News Radio, 654. We're going to talk with 35th District Representative Drew McEwen here shortly, and then we'll have Transit Talk at 8:15. Drew, about 7:15 this morning. Transit Talk at 8:15, and then at 8:45, we'll have Port of Call on the radio with Dick Taylor and John Dobson from the Port of Shelton. Head over to the website. There's some great news stories we'd like to talk to you about. You can read and see what's going on, including some ways that the city could start spurring some growth. We'll find out how that works. Carol's looking at some of the birthdays here this morning, and the first one that pops out of my head, David Seville, the creator of the Chipmunks, a.k.a. Ross Bagzarian. I like David Seville better, easier to say. He created the Chipmunks, and he also, I think, did the Witch Doctor song. Boom, 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 call the Witch Doctor. Know me what? You know that song?
Nope.
You don't know the Witch Doctor song?
I don't think so.
What rock have you been living under? Gee, many Christmas, that song has got to be at least, at least 40 years old now. You ever heard the Witch Doctor?
So Mimi Rogers was married to Tom Cruise?
Mimi Rogers.
That can't be
Tom
right.
Cruise's ex.
Yeah.
That seems a bit different.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you remember Keith Olbermann? He used to be on Countdown. I used to love him on Countdown. Before that, he was on ESPN. That's where he got his start. Then he got too political on ESPN. And then he even got too political on MSNBC.
Now what is he doing?
Not much.
Not much. He needs his own.
He's yelling at at Twitter.
And Bridget Fonda,
yeah,
52. She's a great actress. I like everything that she's in. They just haven't found something for her lately, I guess. She was on this one show on TV. I can't remember now, obviously, what it was called, but she's just, whatever you put her in, I think she's just a really great actress.
Oh, Bridget Fonda. The late Donna Reed would have had a birthday today. And it was also the day that Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born. The composer, Mozart, great guy, lots of good music. It is 6:57. CNBC has a business radio report in about 25 seconds or so. Thomas Edison received a patent for his electric incandescent lamp on this day in 1880. National Geographic Society, founded in D.C., 1888. National Geographic now owned by...
I don't know.
Rupert Murdoch and Fox News.
Yeah, I guess so.
That is truth. I am speaking truth on
I
that.
haven't seen any major changes yet, but I know a lot of people were
You're listening
very
to
upset.
Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Or CNBC Business Radio. The markets are lower today on another slide in oil prices. Traders are cautious ahead of the Federal Reserve's statement this afternoon as they wait to see what policymakers have to say about the rocky beginning of the year for world markets. The Dow's down 92 points, the Nasdaq lower by 26. Shares of Apple are down 5%, the tech giant forecasting its first sales dip in more than a decade, the company reporting its slowest ever increase in iPhone shipments. Boeing tumbling 8%, the aerospace company beating Wall Street expectations on both the top and bottom line, but issuing a disappointing 2016 forecast. AT&T is 1% lower after turning in disappointing fourth quarter revenue, and TripAdvisor is down 2.5% after Goldman Sachs cut its rating on the stock to sell. Once again, stocks are lower. I'm Chris Maurer, CNBC Business Radio.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
Looking to save money on Medicare Part D? Switch your prescriptions to Walgreens. With copays as low as $1, you could be looking at some real savings. And now you can preview the cost of your scripts before you fill with Walgreens' new Medicare prescription copay quote. And that's kind of a big deal. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Quote subject to change and available only for select Part D plans. $1 copay applies to Tier 1 generics.
Alex Jones and InfoWars on from 6 to 9 weekdays on iFIBER ONE Newsradio, AM 1030 and FM 1033 KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Karen Chase. It's a pre-debate debate between Donald Trump and Megyn Kelly. Trump and Kelly have been trading increasingly sharp barbs, with Trump refusing to attend the debate she's moderating and calling her a lightweight, and Kelly standing by her tough questions. ABC Chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl has reaction.
This is an incredibly high-risk move at a really bizarre time. Everything seemed to be breaking Donald Trump's way. He was moving ahead, his largest margin nationally, moving ahead in Iowa, and then he does this, facing that risk of having an empty podium at center stage. Already his opponents are saying this is a sign that Donald Trump is just afraid to come out, afraid to show up at a fight, and that is high risk.
A weeks-long standoff ended in a gunfight between federal agents and a militia group in Oregon battling over land rights. One group member was killed and 7 others arrested. Federal officials have not released many details. ABC's Alex Stone has the latest.
The FBI has now set up checkpoints around the wildlife refuge, allowing in only ranchers who own land in the area. This comes as a national militia network is calling on members to get to Oregon to fight. Those who are coming out of the refuge will be stopped by federal agents. Militia members are still holed up inside. The FBI now containing them. They won't be able to come and go anymore.
Washington, D.C. is slowly getting back up to speed after the blow from the blizzard. Government offices and schools are reopening for the first time since the storm, but train service is limited. Fears of the Zika virus have spread to Europe. A Danish hospital has confirmed a case in a tourist. At least 20 cases have cropped up in the U.S. An Alabama town says it's being pushed to the brink of bankruptcy by Walmart. The retailer is closing its supercenter in Fairfield, which will put 250 people out of a job and eliminate about 30% of the town's revenue. Apple CEO Tim Cook called it the mother of all balance sheets. The company raked in a record-breaking $18 billion in the last quarter, even though iPhone sales didn't rise for the first time since the phone's debut. This is ABC News.
Racing legend Richard Petty.
After over 1,100 races, you could say I've been through the ringer. To help me keep feeling my best, I use odor-free Blue MU made with real MU oil. Blue MU continuous pain relief spray makes it perfect for all those hard-to-reach places. And now there's the new Blue MU Maximum Arthritis Pain Relief Cream. Perfect for hard-hitting arthritis pain. Thanks to Blue MU, nothing slows down the king. Use what I use. Blue MU. It works fast and you won't stink.
Available at Walmart, Walgreens, and other fine retailers.
Advance Auto Parts knows what makes a car guy a car guy. It's working through the unexpected surprises that spring up with every project. It's character, and it isn't rattled by a little thing like a dead battery, especially when you can get a new one online at advanceautoparts.com and pick it up in store just 30 minutes later. We'll even install it for free, so you can get back to fixing faster. Advance Auto Parts, for guys who love getting under the hood.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details.
A Wisconsin man is facing gun charges after federal agents say he plotted to attack a Milwaukee Masonic temple. ABC's Ryan Barrow reports.
According to the criminal complaint, the FBI was alerted to Samim Mohammed Hamza when he plotted to go to Israel to kill Israeli soldiers. But he abandoned those plans, instead focusing on a domestic attack. He told undercover informants he planned to open fire inside of a Masonic temple. He was arrested on charges of trying to buy a machine gun. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett.
We should be incredibly thankful to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office for acting so decisively.
The owner of a Milwaukee kickboxing club says she recently fired Hamza, claiming he was very intense very militant. Ryan Burrow, ABC News.
A real whodunit is unfolding in Italy, where Iran's president and Pope Francis held a meeting this week. The museum in Rome that hosted the get-together covered up some of the nude statues, which Italian politicians criticized as cultural surrender. All sides are denying responsibility for the cover-up. Iran's president laughed when asked if he asked for the shielding and said no. Karen Chase, ABC News.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. New regulations for marijuana growers, processors, and retailers in Shelton are expected to get the Shelton City Commission's final approval next Monday. The new regulations reduce the required buffer zone from 1,000 feet to 500 feet between growers, retailers, and public facilities such as schools, government buildings, and parks. The ordinance, proposed by City Director of Community and Economic Development Steve Goins, would amend the city code to allow marijuana producers and processors to operate within commercial and industrial zones. Mayor Gary Krantz and Commissioners Tracy Moore and Kathy McDowell each voiced favor for regulations that would require growers and processors inside the city to contain marijuana plant odors within their indoor growing operations. Mayor Krantz said approving the new regulations is one of the most difficult decisions he's made in 4 years, adding that the city has to be open to business to generate tax revenues that support services. The item will be placed on the commissioner's agenda at 7 p.m. next Monday for final approval. The city of Shelton is expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator by midsummer. The new city administrator would fill the position being left open by Dave O'Leary. Vicki Look, management assistant for the city, presented a city administrator recruitment schedule that would have the job being advertised by mid-March. Candidate screening and background checks would take place by late April or mid-May. The finalists could be interviewed by the commissioners and the public during a community event by mid to late May. 35th District Representative Dan Griffey stopped by Daybreak to talk about the past week in the legislature. Dan clarified his position and the intent of his elder visitation bill.
I want to clear it up there. My bill doesn't force visitation.
Sure.
It allows for a second look, and I think it's time. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there's way too many family members that profit from the elderly and the people that can't take care of themselves, and I think it's terrible, and we have to do something about it. We had a very vibrant hearing. Carrie Kasem, a very neat lady, Casey Kasem's daughter, love her to death. She is so dynamic, and she's able to articulate her position very well. So it was a great hearing. Now, after the hearing, we have to keep putting on the pressure to make sure we exec that bill, get it out of committee, and hopefully we can get it on the floor.
The goal of the bill is to prevent elder abuse and isolation. Hear the full interview on the Daybreak page at iFIBER1newsradio.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
Science Fantastic with Professor Michio Kaku. Saturdays at 5, Sundays at 6 on iFIBER One News Radio.
You know, on Science Fantastic, we've had a number of neurologists talking about the incredible breakthroughs. Did you know that using computers, we can actually communicate with the thinking brain? Telepathy, telekinesis, recording memories, photographing a dream, machines that are controlled by the mind.
Just imagine yourself in the driver's seat. New car smell, shiny dashboard, clean seats, features to make driving even more comfortable and enjoyable. Relax, take a big deep breath, and make it yours. This is Doug Sample from Whitney's. We'll help you get that new vehicle. Upgrade, trade for a commuter car, or change in size to fit your family. We'll help you find the right vehicle at the right price.
A $150 negotiable document fee may be added to the price of all vehicles.
Just down the road to Whitney's.
Dirk does it again. I'm Dave Packer reporting on sports. Some clutch shooting on the hardwood Tuesday night. First in the pros, where Dirk Nowitzki does it one more time for the Mavericks.
Dirk trying to get it off the right of the lane. Randall right there on him. 7, 6, 5. Checks the clock. 4. Ripping through. Right baseline. Fade away. Good! With 2.1 seconds left. He did it again.
On KESN as Dirk leads the Mavs past the Lakers 92-90. Meanwhile, in the college ranks, Darius Thompson finishes off a furious rally for Virginia.
In to Hall. He bounces it up, and a three for the win is in! And Virginia has apparently stunned Wake Forest on a three by Thompson. Oh, my!
On ESPN, as the 11th ranked Cavaliers scored 14 points in the final minute of play to get past Wake Forest 72-71. Back to the NBA, where the Los Angeles Clippers will be without star forward Blake Griffin after he broke a bone in his hand when throwing a punch at the team's assistant equipment manager. Head coach Doc Rivers met with the media before his team's game on Tuesday in Indiana to discuss the incident.
We have to move forward. We have to, figure out the best way to deal with this.
Griffin is expected to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks. As for the Clippers game against the Pacers, Chris Paul took control late.
Chris goes to work, picked up by Paul George. Crouching over. He's right of the circle. He lets it fly from 19. The shot on the air. Oh, my goodness. He does it again.
On KFWB, as LA escapes with a 91-89 win, Paul finished with 26 points. Elsewhere in the NBA, the Sixers got the best of the Suns, 113-103. It was Miami 102, Brooklyn 98. The Thunder took down the Knicks 122-119 in overtime. Toronto bested Washington 106-89. Milwaukee defeated Orlando 107-100. And Portland got past Sacramento 112-97. Dave Packer, ABC Sports.
Good morning to you. It's Daybreak here at iFIBER One News Radio, and Jeff and Carol on the air at 7:10. We'll have a chat with 35th District Representative Drew McEwen in a few moments. First, Carol, what's the weather look like right now?
It's 48 and rainy.
Trey Fisher had a game-high 21 points as North Mason knocked off Squim in an overtime thriller. Sophomore Fisher had the first 5 points of the extra period as the Bulldogs outscored the Wolves 11-5 in OT. Junior Kevin Burrell-Briggs checked in with 16 points for North Mason, while senior Dalton Geyer added 14. Be sure to check out the website later today, as Sports Director Sean Wells will have full video highlights of the contest, including an interview with North Mason head coach Steve Hackett. Police Chief Steve Milet has defended his department's investigations into a car crash involving Seattle Seahawks fullback Derek Coleman, saying his confidence level is rock solid in the investigation and charging recommendations. Coleman arrested on October 14th. Tonight on iFIBER1newsradio.com, Sean Wells has a high school video cast for you. 7 o'clock tonight, right around 7 o'clock, we'll get things underway. Girls and Mount Tahoma comes to town. Sean's pretty busy this week. Tonight, as I mentioned, he'll be at the Mini Dome. Tomorrow, he'll be heading up and following along with the Shelton High Climber wrestling team as they go to take on the Lincoln Apes. Carol, 6-0. Both teams.
There has to be one winner.
There better be one winner. Shelton, one loser. Lincoln. Something's got to give. And this is for all the marbles. So Sean's going to head up there and film the thing and get some reactions. It's going to be very cool. And then Friday night, he's back at the Mini Dome for another video cast, and I'll be joining him there on that one. 7:12 now, and the forecast.
Good morning. It's 48. Showers this morning, becoming steady rain during the afternoon and into the evening. A high today near 55, but we are expected to get over 2 inches of rain. So that's a lot of rain, Jeff.
It's a lot of rain.
It's a lot of rain. And it is going to be rainy the rest of the week. You might see some sun Saturday, but for the most part, I'm just saying it's raining.
All right.
And it's 48.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor, your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
All right, good morning to you. 7:13 here now at iFIBER One News Radio, and a good morning to you. It is Daybreak with Jeff and Carol, AM 1030 and FM 103.3. Looking at the website today, we've got some great stories for you. Under the news tab, click local news, and the city's director of community and economic development proposes reductions in building permit fees in an attempt to boost construction here in the city. Steve Goins is said director of community and economic development. and he has proposed a 30% reduction in building fees and a 55% reduction in water and sewer charges and traffic impact fees for new homes. This, what he considers a conceptual fee reductions, presented Monday at the meeting after Mayor Gary Krantz requested them to spur economic development in the city. He is comfortable with this, says the mayor, and here are some of the ways that the permit fees will be or could be reduced, I suppose. A new single-family home will go from, in fees, over 18,000 to just over 8,000, and that's a 56% reduction. For an industrial mill building construction, the fees drop about 38%, and that gives $174,000 to about $107,000. So that's what's going on with there. And check out that story. They're going to keep talking about this and have a vote here shortly. Right, because we're not flipped. Okay. We have, I believe, Drew on the line here shortly. We're going to get him on the phone. We got to get our phones flipped over. And the city administrator also looks for recruitment efforts, as the city of Shelton is expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll, I believe, have Drew on the phone here on iFIBER ONE News Radio. It is Daybreak. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Good high rates on the chopping block. We're cooking up a deal at our community credit union with 1% cash back and no payments for 90 days. If you have an auto, boat, RV, personal, or any other type of consumer loan, feast on this. For a limited time, we'll treat you to 1% cash back instantly when you move your loan to our community credit union. Don't wait. Apply online at ourcu.com or visit a branch location: Shelton, Union, McClary, Elma, Montesano, or Vashon.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom31.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom31.com. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom31.com.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio, KMAS.
All right, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER ONE and 716. We are happy to have on the phone line 35th District Representative Drew McEwen on the phone. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning. How are we today?
We are well, and how are you doing?
Pretty good, thank you.
Well, Drew, it's been a week or two now, and we talked with Dan Griffey yesterday, your counterpart here in the 35th, and he had some good information about some things that he was working on. And what say you, my friend? Where are you at here today?
Yeah, so we took a couple of floor votes 2 days ago, passing some education bills, and one of them, again, whittling away at the number of tests that we require in this state, and I think that's a good thing that both sides of the aisle agree on. Sent that on to the Senate, so I'm pleased with that. There was also a bill that, in a roundabout way, was coming up with a plan to appease the court, but what it did on the education side, and what it did though, is it, in my opinion, kicks the can down over another 2 years. And I voted against that. We just need to get this done and get it done now. So. That was that bill was also passed off the House floor. So where we're at right now, continuing to trudge along here on the supplemental budget, and making some piecemeal progress. I'd say we're on schedule. It's not going to be done today or tomorrow, but we're on track with it, and we're coming up quick on what's called cutoff, where bills have to pass out of their House of Origins committee so that they can be presented on the floor, and so whether that's the Senate or the House, so that there's time for the other chamber to hear it. So, things are clipping along, and we're staying on it. I've got a couple of bills, one addressing the taxing or potential taxing in regards to homeowners associations, and had that heard yesterday. And another one that would be really good for Mason County is we'll be having this heard, I believe, next week or in 2 weeks, but allowing areas within the county to basically petition the county to be able to perform, for lack of a better word, a road district. So we have a lot of smaller developments throughout our county that were done, and they formed as an HOA, as a homeowners association, in order to construct the roads and maintain the roads, because the county didn't have the resources to do so. And as you progress over time, those obviously need maintenance, etc. And so it becomes rather burdensome. If you do an assessment, it's an all or nothing proposition. It's hard to for a homeowner association to spread those out. So what we're looking at doing is making it permissive to allow the county to be involved and put it on the tax rolls. That way the individual homeowners are able to get a tax deduction on it, and also potentially be able to spread it out over a number of years. So that's something that's come up locally that I've had a number of folks ask me about, trying to do something there. So trying to get that one heard, and in the meantime, we'll keep plugging away on the budget here and see what we can get this thing done on time, and that's what my plan is.
So with that is similar to kind of what the city of Shelton did with the Parks District and cemetery districts and things like that?
No, that actually created separate taxing entities. This would not.
Okay.
This would allow, so let's just say you live in a homeowners association that's got a road, and you have, if you have the majority of the people sign a petition to the county saying, hey, we want to fix this, we partner with us, it would allow, instead of the homeowner association to do the assessment, it would allow the county to do it via the property tax mechanism. And so it's not creating a separate taxing district or a whole new elected body. But that just brings in a whole number of costs that are not needed for these situations. So similar but different, I guess, would be the way to answer that question.
Okay. You're on a number of committees, and we're looking at them on your website, houserepublicans.wa.gov/Drew-McEwen. One of them that's kind of an interesting one is the Capitol Campus Design Advisory Committee. Is that the way that the campus is laid out as visitors come by, or what's that committee, and how much work is there that's done on that?
Yeah, that's something that meets year round. It's a fairly large committee. I believe there's 15 or 20 people on there, but of that, there's only 4 legislators, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat from both the Senate and the House. There's only 4 of us, and then the Secretary of State is on there as well. And we have oversight of the Capitol campus, and so the design, the implementation. It's not it's a quasi-legislative body. It's not. It's not a direct of the legislature, but so yeah, we have oversight of the Capitol campus, which is actually a number of buildings. It's not just where the dome is, so to speak. It's spread out quite significantly, but it's managing the footprint and and overseeing, whether we lease or we build a new facility, things like that. So it's an interesting one. The big project that's going on, if anybody's been in Olympia lately, is what's called the 1063 block replacement. And it's where the old Children's Museum used to be. And that whole building's been torn down. That was a state-owned government building. And there'll be a brand new one that'll be, I think the schedule is, I want to say the end of 2017 that'll be open. But there'll be a marked improvement. But we've had a lot of involvement on that. So obviously the legislature has appropriate funds and everything. Once that happens, then that committee kind of takes the reins from there.
My mom works in the GA building right across from there, and so when I went and visited her, one day the building's there, come back the next week and the whole thing's gone. It's just amazing.
I know, it's a big hole. It's a big hole. It'll be a nice improvement. It really will. I mean, that building was definitely, it had some controversy in going through the process and getting done and all. It had more to do with, what agencies we were putting in there and how that was going to affect their costs. That was more of the controversy than whether there needs to be a new building or not. But yeah, it'll be a nice improvement to the overall look down there.
Hi, Drew. It's Carol here.
Yes.
How do you decide what committees to get on? Do you have to apply to be in one of these committees, or do you say, hey, I want to be on it, and if there's room, you get to go on, or?
So every 2 years after an election, we do what's called a reorg. And so the Democrats do, the Republicans do, and within your caucus. And we actually, so the way we handle it on the Republican side, we basically fill out what we want to do. And then our caucus leadership actually makes the assignments on that. And, part of it, needless to say, when the $38 billion budget, and it's a huge undertaking to understand state government. So oftentimes we'll shuffle things around so that you get a broad view of the entire state government. But we'll often have members that have a niche or a background on something. Somebody that's come out of, a local government structure will typically go on to that kind of committee because they have a working knowledge of that. I've been, with my leadership team, I've been kind of tasked with going the budget route, and so I'm on the appropriations and the general government, and that's kind of my lot in life on this one. So there's a hope that at some point, as we have members that leave the legislature at one point or another, especially on the appropriation side, it takes a long time to really get up to speed on that. And that's kind of the track that I personally am on. But yeah, you have input on what you want to be on, but at the end of the day, when you're first elected, leadership's going to put you where they think you'll fit in best and have the best opportunity to learn. It's drinking from a fire hose for sure. But as you gain seniority, you certainly have a lot more input on where you're going and what you're doing.
All right, finally, Drew, I can't get you out of here without wondering the top 3 in Iowa next week. You're not going to be able to be on before the first ballots are cast, so what do you think it's going to shake out here in Iowa?
I think the top 3, it's going to be Cruz, Trump, and Rubio. I think any one of those could be in any order, but that'd be my pick there on the top 3 for Iowa. And regardless whether you're Republican or Democrat, I think a lot of people are looking forward to getting this train moving and seeing some folks drop out and start to narrow things down. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. All right, I got you down on that one. Drew McEwen, 35th District Representative, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And we'll talk next time.
All righty.
7:26 now at iFIBER ONE News Radio. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get ready for the news with Mary Lynn Foster at 7:30.
Listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tobert, your advertising consultant from iFIBER ONE News Radio. Are you missing customers because you only market to a specific group? iFIBER ONE News Radio can help you hit a larger group of buyers with our diverse audience. We are 24 hours of local and national breaking news, award-winning talk radio, and primetime sports, including local high school sports. What does this mean to you? This means our listeners listen longer to entire programs and don't switch to another station when a commercial comes on. Our coverage in the Puget Sound area hits over 500,000 listeners, including Mason County, Thurston County, Grace Harbor County, King, Pierce, Joint Base Lewis McChord, and Kitsap County to the Bremerton Naval Base. All advertising is 100% tax deductible. So how can you afford not to advertise? Call me, Mark Tobert, at iFIBER ONE News Radio to become a total audience plan advertiser. Just call 360-426-1030.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studio, you're listening to Daybreak.
All right, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here, iFIBER ONE, 728. Cruz, Trump, Rubio, says Drew McEwen, 35th District Representative. You can email us, daybreak@kmas.com, with Jeff and Carol here. Morning.
Good morning.
Got the news in a little bit. What do you think of that? Cruz, Trump, Rubio.
I think that's
the order you're seeing out of Iowa.
Well, I don't know about the order. Like, I mean, any.
You gotta have an order though. You gotta give me a specific here.
Well,
it's gonna be those three, I think.
Well, it's probably gonna be those three. That's true.
And Rubio's not gonna win, so it's either gonna be between Cruz or Trump for 1 and 2.
Probably.
Where are you at with that?
Cruz.
Rick Perry just came out. He's stumping in Iowa for Ted Cruz. Donald Trump's been getting some endorsements, and they've been very close in the polls. I think even for some of them within Iowa specific, not nationally, but within Iowa specific, I believe that Cruz and Trump are within the margin of error there. That's
so
4%.
There's still almost a year, but
but now we're starting to get going.
Yeah, but this Iowa caucus will determine who gets to keep going, or anybody can keep going, right?
Keep going as long as you want, but
nobody's going to pay attention to you.
Nobody pays attention. Right. So there's a lot of, so you got to get, so the outsiders is what they're calling them, right? Trump and Cruz, are the outsiders, and then the establishment guys, which include Rubio, Bush, Christie, maybe even a Kasich in there. They're vying for a third spot to get some sort of wave into New Hampshire, where the New Hampshire voters often are opposite of what Iowa voters are and what they are feeling. So it'll be really interesting. And once these numbers, see, because nobody really knows until you vote the first time.
Right.
And then all the candidates will be able to go, well, maybe this isn't the cycle. And after New Hampshire, South Carolina, for sure, these dropping like flies.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Local news is brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service. FredHolmesTreeService.com, 427-4489.
From the iFIBER One News Radio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. New regulations for marijuana growers, processors, and retailers in Shelton are expected to get the Shelton City Commission's final approval next Monday. The new regulations reduce the required buffer zone from 1,000 feet to 500 feet between growers, retailers, and public facilities such as schools, government buildings, and parks. The ordinance, proposed by City Director of Community and Economic Development Steve Goins, would amend the city code to allow marijuana producers and processors to operate within commercial and industrial zones. Mayor Gary Krantz and Commissioners Tracy Moore and Kathy McDowell each voiced favor for regulations that would require growers and processors inside the city to contain marijuana plant odors within their indoor growing operations. Mayor Krantz said approving the new regulations is one of the most difficult decisions he's made in 4 years, adding that the city has to be open to business to generate tax revenues that support services. The item will be placed on the commissioner's agenda at 7 p.m. next Monday for final approval. The city of Shelton is expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator by midsummer. The new city administrator would fill the position being left open by Dave O'Leary. Vicki Look, management assistant for the city, presented a city administrator recruitment schedule that would have the job being advertised by mid-March. Candidate screening and background checks would take place by late April or mid-May. The finalists could be interviewed by the commissioners and the public during a community event by mid to late May. 35th District Representative Dan Griffey stopped by Daybreak to talk about the past week in the legislature. Dan clarified his position and the intent of his elder visitation bill.
I want to clear it up there. My bill doesn't force visitation.
Sure.
It allows for a second look, and I think it's time. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there's way too many family members that profit from the elderly and the people that can't take care of themselves, and I think that's terrible, and we have to do something about it. We had a very vibrant hearing. Carrie Kasem, a very neat lady, Casey Kasem's daughter, love her to death. She is so dynamic, and she's able to articulate her position very well. So it was a great hearing. Now, after the hearing, we have to keep putting on the pressure to make sure we exec that bill, get it out of committee, and hopefully we can get it on the floor.
The goal of the bill is to prevent elder abuse and isolation. Hear the full interview on the Daybreak page at iFIBER1newsradio.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
We have some extreme temperatures in our part of the country. I want to tell you about a local company, Arch Mechanical. ARCH, Arch. It's an acronym for Affordable Refrigeration, Cooling, and Heating. But that's not what's important. What's important is how Tom, the problem solver, is able to help solve your heating, cooling, and refrigeration equipment or system problems. Check out archmechanical.com and find out more. archmechanical.com.
The Tom Hartman Show, live 9 to noon, weekdays on iFIBER One News Radio.
This is not an election cycle where middle-of-the-road Democrats are going to stir up enough of the base and enough excitement and enthusiasm that they're going to seriously win elections. And that's the thing that Republicans have figured out and Democrats have yet to learn, which is that elections are not about swaying so-called undecided voters. They're about stirring up the base. The base will bring the undecided voters along with them. They'll do it through social media. They'll do it through talking to their neighbors. They'll do it by talking to people in the workplace. But you've got to energize the base.
Good morning to you. It's Daybreak here at iFIBER One News Radio. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. Good morning.
Good morning.
Check the sports in a second, but first, what's the weather looking like?
Oh, it's 48, and there'll probably be some rain where you're at.
Getting ready to start their days. Trey Fisher at a game-high 21 points as North Mason knocked off Squim in an overtime thriller. The sophomore Fisher had the first 5 points of an extra period as the Bulldogs outscored the Wolves 11-5 in overtime. Junior Kevin Burrell-Briggs checked in with 16 for North Mason, while senior Dalton Geyer added 14. Be sure to check out the website later today as sports director Sean Wells will have full video highlights of the contest, including an interview with North Mason head coach Steve Hackett. Police Chief Steve Milet has defended his department's investigation into the car crash involving Seattle Seahawks fullback Derek Coleman. He was arrested on the 14th after a crash that left the driver of the other vehicle with a broken collarbone and a concussion. Tonight on iFiber1newsradio.com, Sean Wells has high school video cast for you, girls and Mount Tahoma, right around 7 o'clock. Tomorrow, Sean is going to be up at Lincoln covering the Shelton-Lincoln wrestling match, and this is for conference championships. Both teams are 6-0, so it's going to be a great matchup, and Sean will be traveling up there to cover it for us and have some information as well tomorrow as he'll be on in the morning to talk about this conference thing. Mm-hmm. I saw on the Facebook yesterday, Capital is one of the teams, one of the schools that is thinking about changing conferences or divisions or whatever. And there is a Facebook page group called Concerned Parents of Capital High School or something. Anyways, it talked about this because if Capital gets into, and don't quote me 100% on this, but this is about correct. If they move into the Greater St. Helens League, okay, their closest opponent, so they're Capital, right? We all know where Capital High School is. We all know the other schools around there, right? Olympia, whatever, Shelton even. Their closest opponent, if they get into the Greater St. Helens League, is, Carol, take a guess. Home of the Highlanders.
I don't know.
Kelso Longview. So that means on a Friday night football game, these kids are going to have to travel if they go to Kelso, or even teams in Vancouver, Washington.
And this is a smaller league than what they're in, or?
Oh, that I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm just talking about how are parents supposed to go to these games?
Well, why would they want to do that?
That's a
or are
great
they being forced
question.
to do it?
No, I don't think they're being forced. They chose to petition to get into the league. Hopefully, Sean will have more answers. I mean, he came in last week to talk about this, and I've been reading a little bit about it, but it is really interesting. I mean, and we're talking about Capital, and so we're not sure what's going to happen with the Narrows League that Shelton is in now. But if the Greater St. Helens League, and so Friday night, a game starts at 7. You would have to leave an hour to 3 hours now to drive to Kelso or Vancouver, and then you're not getting home until after midnight on these away games.
They'll have to have virtual.
And there's a gazillion teams within a stone's throw of Capital High School. And it would make it so much better to have some inter-county South Sound rivalry.
Well, get on the board.
I ain't getting on nothing. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Well, all right. So there is rain for those of us who feel down. It's 48 showers this morning, becoming more steady the afternoon into the evening. The high today is near 55. There'll be rain for the rest of the week. We might see about 2 inches today. And sunrise will be in about 7 minutes or so.
Get out there.
It's 48.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor, your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Good morning to you. It's Daybreak here at iFIBER One News Radio. Great call with Drew McEwen earlier this morning. And Transit Talk is coming up at 8:15 with Kathy Geist, who's the manager of the Transit Community Center. In addition to Kathy, she's bringing in Charles, who is a writer of MTA, and we'll talk with him about his regular use of transit and how he has gotten... how he feels the community center is as a user.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So we'll talk with them just about 8:15. And also, port of call coming up at 8:45. And police are saying 2 dead, 3 wounded in a Seattle homeless shooting, Carol?
Yep, up in Seattle. Police are searching also for at least one person connected with the incident.
Wow.
So no other details are immediately available. That happened last night up in Seattle near a homeless encampment.
Also, JBLM Rocket Battalion is heading back to Iraq. They're going to send one of its artillery units to Iraq and Kuwait to help find ISIL. The News Trib reports the U.S. Army's 101st Airborne Division is heading to Iraq to work with the country's army and with the Kurdish Peshmerga fighters. About 3,500 or so military U.S. service members there now, and Ash Carter, who's the current defense secretary, has outlined a plan to help Iraq reclaim the land that ISIL has seized and about 2 years ago, including the city of Mosul. The Iraqi fighters recently reclaimed a major city that ISIL had taken over. I think it was Ramadi. So they're working. They're working on it. They're trying hard there. Last battalion served in Iraq was in late of 2011. What else is on the regional news tab?
Oh, well, the man that was in that Renton movie theater shooting was charged with assault. When he allegedly dropped his gun, it hit a woman and it shattered her collarbone.
Yeah.
So she's been reportedly been treated and released from a Seattle hospital, so that's good. She's recovering. But the person, Dana Gillian, told the police he had his gun because he feared mass shootings and then left the theater after his gun fired because he thought that now other moviegoers would think he was the mass shooter himself.
He was the shooter he was looking for. Wow.
Goodness.
Wow.
I know. It's just sort of crazy.
Glad that lady will be okay. 7:41 here. I'm trying to get my brain around what this Zika virus is, and it continues to wreak havoc around the world. And cases of this continue to grow, with health departments reporting at least 19 people diagnosed here in the U.S. and 19 people infected in Puerto Rico. The U.S. cases in at least 8 states have all been travelers who have returned from a country where the transmission of this virus from mosquito to humans is ongoing. State with the highest number of cases is Hawaii on that one. I'll see if I can find some more information on what this does, how it is transmitted, and what the problem. The virus is associated with a dangerous birth defect called microcephaly. Is that what it is? Microcephaly? Something like that? Anyways, I think they're telling people not to even go to Brazil if you're going to have a baby, or don't get pregnant in Rio.
Right.
Because of this virus, which could lead to an increase of rare immunological syndromes called Guillain-Barré, which can lead to paralysis.
Not good.
No, and there are diagnosed here in the U.S. 7:42.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Want to know how you can get free online access to your personal health and medical records from anywhere in the world 24/7? My Mason Health puts you in control, letting you manage your doctor appointments, review your medical visit summaries, message your providers, access test results, and so much more. Wherever you can get an internet connection, you can access your secure online health record from home, work, or anywhere in the world. Ask how you can get connected with My Mason Health at your next hospital or clinic visit.
Mason General Hospital and family of clinics. Equal opportunity provider, translation services provided.
Mason General and family of clinics.
My name is Ruth Rusi. I volunteer with United Way, reading to children to help prepare them for a better academic future. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Hi guys, Kat here with iFIBER ONE Newsradio. What if I told you that radio advertising is far more effective than print media? Think about all of your customers driving to work, appointments, or events, all the while listening to the radio. Imagine your commercial airs on iFIBER ONE Newsradio and the customer decides, hey, I'm right by there. I'm going to go check it out. Radio captures you and literally speaks to you and your customers several times a day. This enables you to build a unique message that reminds your customers what you have to offer. Remember, your customers can either drive to you or through you. And here at iFIBER ONE Newsradio, we want to direct customers to you. Being the only talk radio formatted station in the entire South Sound region, we have an entire new market for your business to advertise in. As your sales lady, I take pride in providing your business with the best advertising because I want your business to succeed. So call me today at 360-463-2558 and ask for Kat.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio Studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
7:45 here at iFIBER ONE Communications, and a good morning to you. AM 1030 and FM 103.3. We are streaming online around the world with audio and video here this morning, and adding a little bit to our video presence here. We figured out ways to add graphics and images.
Yep.
I can even put a silly hat on Carol right now. I can even put some sunglasses on her.
You could.
You definitely want to see that kind of stuff. Coming up is Transit Talk at 8:15. Kathy Geist from the Transit Community Center. She'll be here to talk with us, along with Charles, who is a frequent rider of the transit system. See what he likes about the buses itself, and then that Transit Community Center is just a gem, not only for moving people in and out of the area, but as gathering places. We here at iFIBER ONE have used it on multiple occasions for events and things like that. And it's worked great. People have also used it for job fairs and already doing good stuff. I was watching this commercial the other day, Carol, and it kind of brought me back to my high school days. It is the Papa John's commercial with Peyton and JJ Swat, where they're talking about not even having 50 cents to buy a pizza if they win or whatever. And then Joe Montana comes in, and he's wearing those cargo pants, and they are full of jingle jangle change, right? You've seen that one? He's got just a ton of change. And so I'm looking at him with all this change, and I'm thinking to myself that I used to wear those kind of pants, and they would just be full of things. Like one cargo would be my copy of Jurassic Park. One cargo would be my Walkman or Discman. So this is a while ago, obviously. One would be my Game Boy. And then on my watch, I've got this fancy calculator watch that you can also put phone numbers into and store as like a data thing. And I'm looking at and I'm thinking of Joe Montana holding all these coins, and then I'm thinking about what I used to carry around and how heavy my backpack used to be at school. I never had a beeper. No, never had a pager. Never had a pager.
Beeper.
But you look at Joe Montana with those big pockets full of change, and then you kind of think about where we're at today, and how I had books and Walkmans and Discmans and calculators, and my backpack I was like 4 foot nothing, in high school, and I could barely walk with the amount of books that I had. Now, it's all on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something?
That is crazy.
And it was all kind of Apple who started that thing.
Well, Microsoft, was spent the 90s and 2000s trying to converge everything into a PC, and then Apple's had a digital hub that, thought, well, we're going to have the instead of the Discman, we're going to go to the iPhone or the iPod Nano. And then we'll have your little book reader, and then you'll have, your whatever, your camera, digital camera. So now, yes, it's all come down into a phone. Basically, the phone has taken place of so many things.
It's taken place of your digital camera, your video camera, a radio in often cases, your PDA, your personal digital assistant, VCRs, Discman.
Palm Pilot.
Everything.
Exactly. And then, so this thing is called convergence. That's what people are labeling as. Okay. The notion that more and more pieces of our lives will somehow be turned into software or consumed by a smartphone in some way.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of industry. There's some great pictures of people in the 90s wearing, with their Discmans and their things.
Well, how about carrying a radio around?
Oh, yeah. Big,
boombox.
The big boom boxes. I didn't even think about the software part of it. And so basically, what you're going to talk about is a way of a piece of software replaces entire systems.
Yeah, like Uber is replacing the taxi system, basically, in a way. I mean, obviously, there's still a physical card to come get you, but it's just an app on your phone now. You can just dial up and get a car.
And you don't even deal with a taxi service. You deal with a person.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
You don't even really deal with a person. You just deal with your app, and then when you get in the car.
Sure.
They know.
That's amazing. I've never even thought about that. Uber replacing taxi.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's sort of crazy. Wow. I mean, it's like we talk about like the fridges replacing, going to the grocery store, that kind of stuff.
All the digital
stuff. But now there's some people are saying because there's this huge trend for vinyl happening again. People want to play their records on a record player.
Oh, it sounds better.
Well, that's what everybody says. Everybody says it sounds better. I think it's the
feeling,
idea, the nostalgic atmosphere about having a record player.
Obviously, it doesn't sound better.
Yeah,
obviously, because when the first time, now I did not for me, but other people may know what I'm about to talk about. The first time you listen to Sgt. Pepper's on a record, and then the first time you listen to Sgt. Pepper's on a CD. There are so many more channels and so many more layers of audio that you didn't hear in the pressings on the vinyl. So it does, technically, it does not sound better, but it sounds more real.
Yeah.
When you listen to it.
And more heavy, not heavy, but more... there's more substance, it almost seems like. Yeah. So, but I think it's just the experience. But I don't think we're all going to go back to records. I really don't see that happening. For one thing,
there's a lot of space. You have to, the turntable I have at home, I mean, it takes up a huge space.
Yeah, it does take up a huge space.
All the records take up space.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and then they also are talking about the new Super 8 camera that's coming out.
It's a film camera.
Yeah, it's a film camera, the Super 8.
So we're back to film.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Right. And I think that might be a way to portray some movies, but for the most part, they're going to be doing, I see it as another trend.
Oh, just another fad.
Yeah. Or some people will keep some of the old stuff, but most people, will be moving on to all the digital stuff.
Digital.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're not even going to be teaching cursive in schools.
I think we will keep teaching cursive. Oh, that's a good point.
All right, we'll be right back after this quick break on Daybreak. Time for the old farmer and his almanac.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio.
The Mid-Atlantic was bracing for an epic snowstorm on this day 1 year ago, a blizzard that never happened. Details on the Old Farmer's Almanac radio report. With more practical tips and useful advice, this is the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report for Wednesday, January 27th, the 27th day of the year. Composer Wolfgang Mozart was born on this day, and 1 year ago today, the great blizzard of 2015 hit the Northeast. A massive nor'easter brought upwards of 30 inches to some communities in coastal New England, but the storm may be most remembered as one of the biggest forecasting misses in recent memory. Based on alarming predictions, New Jersey enacted emergency measures and travel bans. When nothing more than a minor snowfall occurred, officials were left with some explaining to do, and the Weather Service was issuing apologies for the bad call. It's a good reminder of how unpredictable winter storm systems can be. The science on those, it seems, is not yet settled. That's the Old Farmer's Almanac Radio Report. Find your local weather outlook online at almanac.com.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE Newsradio, AMAS.
Well, good morning to you. It's Daybreak here at iFIBER ONE News Radio, AM 1030 and FM 1033. Jeff and Carol here with Transit Talk coming up at 8:15. Also, after that, we'll have Port of Call on the radio. Abe Vigoda passes away. I don't know if you heard that yesterday, Carol.
What now?
Abe Vigoda passed.
Yes.
Best known for playing the morose detective Fish on Barney Miller and spin-off Fish. He was Tessio in Godfather. And Abe Vigoda was 94. His family says he was never sick. Just old age.
That's what they say.
Never sick. That's great.
Yeah, that is great.
Vigoda's daughter, Carol Vigoda Fuchs, tells ABC News that her father died Tuesday in her home, where he had been staying ahead of Winter Storm Jonas. Went into the kitchen to make coffee, came back, and he was gone, she tells ABC Radio. He believed in all nationalities, all religion, all people. He had no judgments. She recalled how homeless guys used to come up with him on the street and shout, "Hey, Abe!" And he'd shake their hands, get with the people. He was part of that, and she says that, not many people do that. Incorrectly reported that he has passed. It was always kind of an ongoing joke on Conan O'Brien. You know that him and Conan had a working relationship. He was always on the show, and they always would say something about him being dead. And anytime they said something, he would show up. He'd stand there, and he's like, "I'm still right here." So a sad day for Conan and the team there. Had been something of a pop culture joke, and there was even a website where there's these websites where you could go to, like isitchristmas.com, and it just says no until the 25th of December, and it says yes. Now, if you go to isabevigodadead.com, it had up until yesterday said no, and now it says yes. Tessio, the mafioso soldier who ultimately proves disloyal in The Godfather, he kind of a cameo in the second one. Then he was on Barney Miller. He's also been in Joe versus the Volcano. I love that movie. Look Who's Talking and Jury Duty with, I believe, Pauly Shore is in that one. He was on MacGyver, Murder, She Wrote, Law and Order, Wings, Enough is Enough, Hawaii Five-0, and as I mentioned, Conan O'Brien. He was in a Super Bowl commercial with Betty White. I think it was the first Snickers commercial where they showed celebrities being ornery or being something, and then they have a Snickers and they're okay. So Abe Vigoda passes on this day now at 94. Some of the stars are reacting to this. Orlando Jones is a funny dude. R.I.P. Met him at the 55th annual New York Emmy Awards. Dane Cook is talking. Larry King, of course. What a life, what a career, what a warm and funny man he was. Do you have any of these passings, celebrity deaths that shock? So Kennedy, obviously, for some people, when he died, an actor that when he died that I was shocked, Phil Hartman for me, and Chris Farley, hearing those two names. Do you have any, can you think of any folks that when you heard, you went, whoa?
Well, Michael Jackson.
Oh, Michael Jackson.
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, of course, yeah. They just are such a part of your life.
Yeah.
Even though you've never met them.
Exactly.
You grew up with them.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're gone.
It's 8 o'clock.
here at iFIBER One News Radio.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tobert, your advertising consultant from iFIBER One News Radio. Are you missing customers because you only market to a specific group? iFIBER One News Radio can help you hit a larger group of buyers with our diverse audience. We are 24 hours of local and national breaking news, award-winning talk radio, and primetime sports, including local high school sports. What does this mean to you? This means our listeners listen longer to entire programs and don't switch to another station when a commercial comes on. Our coverage in the Puget Sound area hits over 500,000 listeners, including Mason County, Thurston County, Grace Harbor County, King, Pierce, Joint Base Lewis McCourt, and Kitsap County to the Bremerton Naval Base. All advertising is 100% tax deductible. So how can you afford not to advertise? Call me, Mark Tobert, at iFIBER One News Radio to become a total audience plan advertiser. Just call 360-426-1030.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom31.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom31.com. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom31.com.
Alex Jones and InfoWars on from 6 to 9 weekdays on iFIBER One News Radio, AM 1030 and FM 103.3 KMAS Shelton.
Here's the latest from ABC News. I'm Karen Chase. A wildlife refuge in Oregon occupied by a militia group has been sealed off by police after a gun battle between them during a traffic stop. One occupier was killed and 7 arrested. Meanwhile, ABC's Alex Stone tells us the others are still inside, apparently with no plans to surrender.
The standoff is not over yet. With group leader Ammon Bundy under arrest, militia members remain holed up at the wildlife refuge, refusing to go and vowing to fight. They say so far things are calm at that refuge. They're calling on militia members around the country to come and fight. But the FBI has now set up roadblocks to prevent anybody from entering, and anybody who leaves and doesn't own land in the area will be arrested.
Donald Trump says he won't call Megyn Kelly a bimbo, but did call her biased against him. He's skipping tomorrow night's debate and predicts the audience will too.
Let's see how much money Fox is going to make on the debate without me.
Republican rival Ted Cruz quickly capitalized on the move.
We've launched a website tonight called duckingdonald.com.
Kelly told Entertainment Tonight she thinks Trump will show up. Bernie Sanders is meeting with President Obama at the White House today as his polls rise. While Hillary Clinton holds a big lead in national polls, the two are neck and neck in Iowa just days before the caucuses. It's another dismal day for your 401k as investors vent angst over this afternoon's statement from the Fed. After their last meeting 6 weeks ago, policymakers raised interest rates. The Dow is down about 1%. President Obama held a Situation Room meeting last night on the Zika virus. At least 20 cases have been reported in the U.S. The virus has been linked to brain damage in infants. If you ate at a Wendy's restaurant recently, keep a close eye on your credit card activity. The franchise is investigating unusual accounts at some Wendy's locations. Weight Watchers stocks shot up 20% on news that new partner Oprah Winfrey has lost 26 pounds on the plan. Winfrey tweeted, "Eat bread, lose weight? What? Hashtag come join me." This is ABC News.
QL1, this is Control. Ground crew is secure. Over. Copy that, Control. Rockets powering up. Over. QL1, this is Control. Does Rocket Mortgage require me to fill out a bunch of paperwork? Negative, Control. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is the first on-demand mortgage machine that quickly and seamlessly imports your financial data. You can go through the entire mortgage approval process in minutes. Copy that, QL1. That is fast, like rocket fast. Do Do you think that's why they named it Rocket Mortgage? Over. Affirmative control. That's probably why they named it Rocket Mortgage. It also works on any internet-ready device, so you can get a Rocket Mortgage at any time or place you choose. Roger that, QL1. So technically speaking, you could get a Rocket Mortgage at rocket speed from inside an actual rocket? Please just press the button, Control. Over. Copy that, QL1. 3, 2, 1. Rocket Mortgage at QuickenLoans.com. Push button. Get mortgage.
Rocket. Visit for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Israel is remembering one of the saddest chapters in its history today. ABC's Molly Hunter reports.
Marking International Holocaust Remembrance Day here, Israeli President Rivlin has released never-before-seen documents, including a handwritten request for clemency from one of the most notorious Nazi war criminals. Adolf Eichmann, tried, convicted, and ultimately sentenced to death, had written a petition to the court just 2 days before he was hanged in Israel. I was not a responsible leader, he wrote, for the unspeakable horrors. Today, President Rivlin said not a moment of kindness was given to those who suffered Eichmann's evil. Molly Hunter, ABC News, Jerusalem.
A dad in Dallas was the winner in a nasty cell phone custody battle with his 12-year-old daughter. Ronald Jackson snatched away his daughter's device after finding an inappropriate text on it. The girl's mom, who owns the phone, called the cops, accusing him of theft. Jackson was arrested and forced to cough up $1,500 bail to get out before going to court and being acquitted. Karen Chase, ABC News.
Local news is brought to you by Shelton Health and Rehabilitation Center. Find them online at sheltonhealthandrehab.com.
From the iFIBER ONE Newsradio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. New regulations for marijuana growers, processors, and retailers in Shelton are expected to get the Shelton City Commission's final approval next Monday. The new regulations reduce the required buffer zone from 1,000 feet to 500 feet between growers, retailers, and public facilities such as schools, government buildings, and parks. The ordinance, proposed by City Director of Community and Economic Development Steve Goins, would amend the city code to allow marijuana producers and processors to operate within commercial and industrial zones. Mayor Gary Krantz and Commissioners Tracy Moore and Kathy McDowell each voiced favor for regulations that would require growers and processors inside the city to contain marijuana plant odors within their indoor growing operations. Mayor Krantz said approving the new regulations is one of the most difficult decisions he's made in 4 years, adding that the city has to be open to business to generate tax revenues that support services. The item will be placed on the commissioner's agenda at 7 p.m. next Monday for final approval. The city of Shelton is expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator by midsummer. The new city administrator would fill the position being left open by Dave O'Leary. Vicki Look, management assistant for the city, presented a city administrator recruitment schedule that would have the job being advertised by mid-March. Candidate screening and background checks would take place by late April or mid-May. The finalists could be interviewed by the commissioners and the public during a community event by mid to late May. 35th District Representative Dan Griffey stopped by Daybreak to talk about the past week in the legislature. Dan clarified his position and the intent of his elder visitation bill.
I want to clear it up there. My bill doesn't force visitation.
Sure.
It allows for a second look, and I think it's time. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there's way too many family members that profit from the elderly and the people that can't take care of themselves. And I think that's terrible, and we have to do something about it. We had a very vibrant hearing. Carrie Kasem, a very neat lady, Casey Kasem's daughter, love her to death. She is so dynamic, and she's able to articulate her position very well. So it was a great hearing. Now, after the hearing, we have to keep putting on the pressure to make sure we exec that bill, get it out of committee, and hopefully we can get it on the floor.
The goal of the bill is to prevent elder abuse and isolation. Hear the full interview on the Daybreak page at iFIBER1newsradio.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
The Chad Benson Show.
How in the world are you going to pay for all that you want to do? And you can only tax people to a certain point. People who are smart, guess what? They get sick and tired of it, and they find other ways to do stuff. All of a sudden, you go from having a certain percentage of something to 100% of nothing.
The Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, live weekdays 3 to 6 on iFIBER One News Radio. Ascend Roofing Company in Shelton's on top of it. 868-2730. Roofing work that speaks for itself.
Just a note to express our appreciation for restoring our faith in a handshake. You did what you said you would, and that's all anyone can expect.
We truly appreciate the work that was done. And your son Ryan is a wonderful representative of your company. Thank you again for making the gutters clean and our roof moss resistant.
You could be the next happy customer by calling Ascend Roofing. 868-2730. Good morning to you. It's Daybreak here at iFIBER One News Radio. Jeff and Carol on a Wednesday morning. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Jeff.
Check the sports here in just a second, but currently, what's the forecast looking like right now?
48 and showers.
All right, thank you very much. It was Trey Fisher who had a game-high 21 points as the North Mason Bulldogs knocked off Squim in an overtime thriller. The sophomore Fisher had the first 5 points of the extra period as the Bulldogs outscored the Wolves 11-5 in overtime. Junior Kevin Burrell-Briggs checked in with 16 for North Mason, and senior Dalton Geyer added 14. Check out the website later today. Sports Director Sean Wells will have full video highlights of the contest, including an interview with North Mason head coach Steve Hackett. Tonight on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com, Sean will have high school video casts for you. Girls Mount Tahoma. That's going to be right around 7 o'clock. Tomorrow morning, Sean will stop by at 8:30 to talk with us about some of the week that was in sports locally and what the weekend has to offer, including the fact that he is going to head to Lincoln tomorrow night to watch Lincoln and Shelton in wrestling. Both teams are 6-0, and something's got to give, and there'll be full coverage of that with Sean coming our way on Friday. Gonzaga basketball tomorrow night here on the radio, again on Saturday, and we are going to skip the Pro Bowl this weekend, but we'll have the Super Bowl. Carol, now with the weather.
Good morning. It's 48 showers this morning, becoming steady rain during the afternoon and into the evening. High today near 55. There'll be rain for the rest of the week, and it's may see about 2 inches of rain today. And right now it's 48.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South Sound's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Now, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here. It's 8:11 and looking at some stories locally on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com. And what's the top stories there that you're looking at, Carol?
Well, I'm looking at some regional stories right now, and the whole Bertha tunnel deal. The Seattle contractors say that they're a challenge to the halt tunneling that Inslee put out last week or so. They say that it could actually increase the risk of creating more sinkholes. So they said that they already immediately filled the sinkhole that they did find with a mixture of concrete and sand after it formed on January 12th, and they say that they need to just keep going.
Those sinkholes are scary.
They are scary.
Oof, some of them are so big. They'll suck up a whole house.
Yeah, they definitely will.
Yikes almighty. All right, see, a hospital spokeswoman says 3 people are improving after being wounded by gunfire that left 2 others dead at a homeless camp. This is an update to the story we have on our website at iFIBER1NewsRadio.com. Susan Gregg at Harborview says 2 women and 1 male now in serious conditions in the intensive care unit. Police say they have not arrested anyone in Tuesday night's shooting at the encampment known as the Jungle, and they're searching for a couple people that they want to talk to about the case. Body was pulled from the Spokane River, Carol, believed to be that of missing Veterans Affairs Hospital surgeon Dr. John Marshall. He went missing Monday
was thought to be believed to be jogging in that area. This is a passerby found him Tuesday morning floating in the river. Locally, city permit fees cuts were debated on Monday.
At the City of Shelton Commission meeting, Steve Goins, the Director of Community and Economic Development, proposed a reduction in building permit fees in an attempt to boost construction in Shelton, and he had proposed 30% reduction in building fees and over a 50% reduction in water and sewer charges and traffic impact fees. We have that whole story for you on iFIBER Radio, iFIBER1newsradio.com.
There we go. Be right back after this. Riding the bus. Transit Talk.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
You answered all your emails by noon. Get a freshly prepared Egg McMuffin. Actually left work on time? Then get yourself a savory sausage McMuffin with egg. You saw the weirdest midnight movie. Well, get a delicious sausage burrito. With McDonald's all-day breakfast menu, you can get delectable breakfast tastes anytime. Egg McMuffin, hotcakes and sausage and more. It's time to start enjoying the breakfast you love whenever you want. Just listen to a radio commercial? Get some golden hash browns. McDonald's all-day breakfast menu varies by location.
This love letter's for my sweet beauty. Your scent drives me all sorts of cray. Every time you touch my lips, ooh, how it makes my day. Rich, smooth, fresh, and steamy. Dang, you're a dream. So let me give you some sugar, and then perhaps some cream. There's no denying your love for a rich, smooth, fresh brewed McCafe. And now, get any size for just $1. A la carte only. Prices and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Has this ever happened to you? Your significant other says, we've got to redo the kitchen, and you break out into a cold sweat?
Well, don't worry. It's a common condition, something we call needless remodeling anxiety, and we've got the cure. Heck, we are the cure. Hi, I'm Tom Kreitler.
And I'm Leslie Segretti. Whether you do it yourself or direct it yourself, we can help you keep your project on track and on budget.
So join us this weekend for the Money Pit Home Improvement Radio Show.
Saturdays at 10, Sundays at 7 on iFIBER One News Radio.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Another one rides the bus. Another one rides the bus. And another comes on, and another comes on. Another one rides the bus.
All right, good morning to you. We are listening to the sweet sounds of Weird Al Yankovic right now with Another One Rides the Bus. I love that song. It's so good. It's on The Essential. I think it's on Polka Party too. If you happen to be looking for those, I bought all those tapes as a youth at the
Tapes
Kmart.
or a vinyl?
Nope, they were cassette tapes at Kmart, and I loved them every minute.
I'm sure you did.
All right, it's a great lead into Transit Talk this morning, and Kathy Geist is in studio. She's the manager of the Transit Community Center. Also in, Chuck Orthman. Morning, gang.
Hello.
Nice to see y'all. Brad's on assignment in Olympia today, so we're happy to have Kathy and Chuck here. We're going to talk about the Transit Community Center, and then we'll talk with Chuck, who uses the bus system often around these parts, and we'll kind of see what he thinks about them. Does that sound like a plan? Everybody good?
Okay.
Sounds good to me. You
All
bet.
right. Well, thanks, Kathy, for coming in. How long has the Transit Community Center been open now?
Oh my gosh, so we're coming up April 1st on our 1-year birthday anniversary, no fooling.
Wow.
Yeah, so I know, time goes by very fast.
We're going to have a big party, or?
We are. We're going to have a big anniversary party. The college will be involved, and all of our tenants will be involved, and they'll have all their swag out, letting everybody know what they're doing down there. And
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Brad was in last week, and he says that the college is getting ready and starting to do some cooking
They
in
already
there.
are. They had the class last night, and they have another class again tonight from a visiting chef out of Olympia.
Oh, wow.
So you can contact Olympic College to sign up for those classes. They're great. Last night, Cooking with Kern did steaks. So I went into the kitchen, and they were cooking steaks.
Yeah.
How can you not smell it?
Yeah,
Why
I
go
do.
get
Yeah.
some food? Are they selling the food or just eating it
Yeah, not
themselves?
for this, not this yet. And the other thing that I might put out there is that they are looking for volunteers for the class to help with cleanup and setup. And with that, you get the class, of course, and you get the food.
And you get a little food.
Very
with that as
nice.
well. Yummy, yummy. All right, so it has been a wonderful welcome addition to the community, I think. I think everybody is very happy with the final project of the Transit Community Center. And Chuck, you ride the Mason Transit system a lot, and let's talk about how your interactions with Mason Transit worked before the transit center and how it's helped you now that the transit center is here.
Well, the transit center introduces to the rider a customer service office, which is really, really handy for those planning on lengthy trips, down into Olympia that have transfers along the way. There's itinerary service available to customer service. I actually talked to somebody last week that said that they found it really beneficial. They had a long journey, 2 or 3 transfers once they got to Olympia, and MTA has a good partnership with Intercity Transit, so that information is available to us.
It's a pretty robust service the transit offers, and you use it quite often. Though, if you weren't able to use the bus, like how would you get around, Chuck? Because we see you around town all the time.
Well, as a Grapeview resident, I wouldn't. There actually isn't even much of a provision for me to be safe in riding a bicycle in from town. The distance traveled each morning is 16 miles. So, and especially along Highway 3, that's pretty dangerous. So to have Mason Transit be able to come out, within a block of my residence and pick me up and to see them, they can do flag stops along the way. So anybody out in the rural areas, all they have to do is just wave and the bus will stop and pick them up.
So the bus goes on the Loop Road now, Grapeview Loop Road? Oh, wow. That is really nice.
Yeah,
it's
those
beautiful.
people love it that are out there.
I bet they do. My goodness. How does MTA, we talked briefly there about Intercity, but how does MTA stack up on the list of top 5 transit systems that you've ridden on?
Well, it's number 1. Yeah, that's easy. I started riding transit actually in high school back in the 70s. I lived in Northeast Vancouver, and my commute was to Southeast Portland each day. So, I had the bottleneck at the Interstate Bridge, getting across, combined with long gas lines back in the 70s, so it really made sense to use the C-Tran and TriMet systems back then. So, it kind of shook the fear, So, but nowadays, this week's Mason County Journal.
Yeah, what's in there?
Yeah, it's page 2. There's an article here from a Leslie Owen. She's a senior attorney from the Olympia-based Northwest Justice Project. And she poses a question in here. If you live out here, how accessible is the bus to you?
Yeah,
that's a really easy question to answer. Very accessible.
Last week we talked a little bit about Dial-A-Ride and those both programs that MTA offers up.
And the Northwest Justice Project, they were here last week at the invitation of the Mason County Women Voters, brought them here, the League of Women Voters, and the purpose is to try to get more people onto public transportation, those that are suspended driver's license, and I'm one of them.
Okay.
So, it's been real handy for me to use the bus system rather than to bury myself further in debt.
Sure. And so once you get the all the things worked out there, and you have the opportunity to get back to driving yourself, though, will you still use the bus?
I probably will, yeah.
Why would that be?
Well, because of the familiarity with the system. That's kind of what it was. My first use of MTA here was when Mel Chevrolet called me and told me my car was ready. They asked me, I said, well, the bus picks up right at the end on the hour. So right at the end of my driveway. So I'll just walk out the end of the driveway. I'll be downtown in a minute. So that was the first time I ever used the bus.
Interesting.
Was to actually pick up my car. So,
So one of the things that's really interesting is in urban areas, the bus system is used by almost everybody, whether they have a car or not.
Yeah.
It's in rural areas where you have more people riding the bus that need to ride the bus or they're transit dependent. And so it's really interesting for me because coming from a world until I got to transit from the city and then the Port of Olympia, I wasn't familiar with transit. I rode it. The minute I got a job in Olympia, I started riding the bus from Shelton. And I have a perfectly good car, but it saved me $250 a month. And once I started doing it, it was great. Not only the wear and tear on my car, and again, I could have driven my car every day. I just didn't see any reason for it. And that's sort of the mentality in more urban areas. They have cars, but they choose to ride the bus because they can work on their laptop on the way over, which brings me to Chuck again, because he told me a great story while we were sitting out here waiting. Go ahead and tell that story.
Okay. Last week I was riding the bus, and there's a gal that rides regularly, and I just decided to ask her what she does in Olympia. I know she works down there. She works at the Secretary of State's office.
Oh, really?
And there's a group of them early in the morning that that take the bus down to Olympia to work and back every day. Some of them I've been seeing for 4 or 5 years, riding the bus back and forth. And so I asked her what she does. She works at the Secretary of State's office, and I happen to have a business card and been kind of procrastinating getting down there. So I asked her, and she used her remote desktop on board the bus to answer my questions without me ever having to go to Olympia. So
wow,
that was kind of cool. You just never can tell unless you ask people why. What do you do? What are you on the bus for? You start asking questions, you find out that there's actually quite a diverse population that uses the bus.
I love riding on the bus. I used to ride it as a kid all the time, and my dad, when he was running intercity transit, he would go ride the routes and talk with folks all the time, just passing time, seeing how folks are doing, and there are friends that you haven't met yet on the bus.
Buddies.
Yeah, bus buddies.
Yeah, bus buddies. You bet.
For sure. Carol, do you have anything on
no.
transit? So, Kathy, can you give us some more updates on what is coming down the pike? You talked a little bit about the school.
Oh, yeah, it's
the
very
classes.
exciting. We have a new tenant that we're working with right now. We actually have a draft lease, and we're going back and forth with them. We're very excited to welcome Community Youth Services to the facility. They'll be leasing about 1,800 square feet. They're going to bring several employees over from Olympia. And what's exciting about them, as well as Catholic Community Services, who are now a tenant, they're all doing youth support programs. And they've always, a lot of these groups have gotten money to serve Mason County, along with Thurston, Grays Harbor, Pierce. Just depends on which counties they get money for, but they've always gotten money from Mason County, and they've served us. But the issue has been that for me and for a lot of us here that have lived here forever and see kind of what happens, is that if they don't have a physical presence here, they just can't do as good an outreach and get people using the services, and especially youth, knowing where they're at and getting to them. So both those entities are now going to be at the Transit Community Center, and they're bringing for the first time employees to have a presence here and an office here to help and reach out to those youth. One of the programs that the Catholic Community Services is doing is basically it's mental health crisis intervention with families and youth, and they go out to people's homes or bring them back into the offices later at night and after hours, after they get home from work, that kind of thing. That's something that we've needed here forever. And so I'm super excited to see that happening. And the same with Community Youth Services. They're going to be bringing in a lot of job finding services and working in conjunction with ESD, who's already there doing training and testing for getting people their GED. So we're getting that continuum of services, exactly what we had planned to do. And the fact that it's all coming together in the first year is phew for me.
I bet.
Yeah, and it's just really exciting to see these groups, and they're all excited to work with each other, which is super cool.
Are there a lot of kids that are near the Transit Community Center after school gets out?
Oh yeah, we've got so many of our young people that just kind of don't have a place to hang out, and that while you cannot loiter at the transit facility, and we are very we set a culture there, and we did that in the first 90 days, and everybody knows, really, they're very good. They do a lot of self-policing. Chuck sees that a lot, and so we've created a really safe, pleasant atmosphere down there, and we have a group of kids that like to come and go, and they get on the bus, and maybe they'll be on the bus for a while and come back and wait for a friend, but they all know how to behave there and what they can and can't do, and it's really nice to see that they go by the rules, and oftentimes when they get caught doing something, it'll be another one of them that are telling them and reminding them of the rules there. Yeah. So they can't loiter there, but they can come there for open gym, and we're working to create a lot more programs for youth to be able to just come and spend some time there.
Yeah, there is a need for that, definitely.
Yes, there absolutely is.
It's 8:26 here, and Transit Talk is weekly at this time. This morning we were welcomed by Transit Community Center Manager Kathy Geist and Chuck Orthman. Good morning, and thank you so much. It's great to see you, Chuck. I feel it's been a little while since I've seen you around here. Kathy, we'll see you and catch up with you again down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's 8:27 now. What we're going to do is take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get ready for the morning stock numbers on iFIBER ONE News Radio. And on the way too, Mary Lynn Foster has the latest in local news. That's all coming up next here on Daybreak.
listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Hi, guys.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
All right, good morning to you on the line here from Edward Jones. Good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Oh, we're doing really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good.
Happy
Good.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday already.
Oh.
Although last night, Stephanie and I both looked at each other and went, oh, it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, I know.
So we'll see what's going on.
I know.
What's up with Wall Street?
Well, U.S. stocks opened lower this morning, erasing a portion of yesterday's gain on disappointing earnings outlook as investors await the Federal Reserve's first monetary policy decision of the year. Anxiety about global growth continues, fueled by China's slowdown and weak commodity prices, as the S&P 500 is on pace for its worst January since 2009. In earnings news, 2016 outlooks from Apple and Boeing are below expectations. Bond prices are trading slightly higher this morning. So far this morning, the S&P 500, the best performing sector is consumer staples, while the worst performing sector is technology. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 110 points at 16,056. The Standard & Poor's 500 Index is down 11 points at 1,891. And the NASDAQ Composite Index is down 50 points at 4,516. This morning, volume on the New York Stock Exchange is high, with about 269 million shares being traded, and decliners are outnumbering advancers by a roughly 3-2 margin. In the commodity markets, the spot price of gold is down $3.62 to $1,116.30. The spot price of silver is down 6 cents to $14.44, and crude oil prices are down 23 cents to $31.22. In the bond markets, the 30-year Treasury yield is currently 2.81%, and the 10-year Treasury yield is 2.02%. Stocks of local interest: Amazon is down $10.14. Costco is up 33 cents. Boeing is down $10.48. Starbucks is down 45 cents, and Microsoft is down 36 cents. This is Karen Shade of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and long-term financial advice. I'm located at 1051 Southeast State Route 3 in Shelton, and if you'd like additional information, you can contact me at 426-4590, and our daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
All right, Karen, thank you much. 8:30 here at iFIBER ONE News Radio, and the latest in local news is now brought to you by Fred Holmes Tree Service.
The iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, I'm Marilyn Foster. New regulations for marijuana growers, processors, and retailers in Shelton are expected to get the Shelton City Commission's final approval next Monday. The new regulations reduce the required buffer zone from 1,000 feet to 500 feet between growers, retailers, and public facilities such as schools, government buildings, and parks. The ordinance, proposed by City Director of Community and Economic Development Steve Goins, would amend the city code to allow marijuana producers and processors to operate within commercial and industrial zones. Mayor Gary Krantz and Commissioners Tracy Moore and Kathy McDowell each voiced favor for regulations that would require growers and processors inside the city to contain marijuana plant odors within their indoor growing operations. Mayor Krantz said approving the new regulations is one of the most difficult decisions he's made in 4 years, adding that the city has to be open to business to generate tax revenues that support services. The item will be placed on the commissioner's agenda at 7 p.m. next Monday for final approval. The city of Shelton is expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator by midsummer. The new city administrator would fill the position being left open by Dave O'Leary. Vicki Look, management assistant for the city, presented a city administrator recruitment schedule that would have the job being advertised by mid-March. Candidate screening and background checks would take place by late April or mid-May. The finalists could be interviewed by the commissioners and the public during a community event by mid to late May. 35th District Representative Dan Griffey stopped by Daybreak to talk about the past week in the legislature. Dan clarified his position and the intent of his elder visitation bill.
I want to clear it up there. My bill doesn't force visitation.
Sure.
It allows for a second look, and I think it's time. Unfortunately, at this point in time, there's way too many family members that profit from the elderly and the people that can't take care of themselves, and I think that's terrible, and we have to do something about it. We had a very vibrant hearing. Carrie Kasem, a very neat lady, Casey Kasem's daughter, love her to death. She is so dynamic, and she's able to articulate her position very well. So it was a great hearing. Now, after the hearing, we have to keep putting on the pressure to make sure we exec that bill, get it out of committee, and hopefully we can get it on the floor.
The goal of the bill is to prevent elder abuse and isolation. Hear the full interview on the Daybreak page at iFIBER1newsradio.com. For iFIBER One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3, I'm Marilyn Foster.
You know Gillis Auto Center in Shelton for the best deals, best price, best trade, and low payments. Well, it doesn't end there. The Gillis Auto Center service department's now open Saturdays 8 to 4:30. See, we truly want to make it super convenient for you to get your vehicle serviced. Not only Ford, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram trucks, but all makes and models. With our service department open 6 days a week to make it easy for you. Family-owned Gillis Auto Center in Shelton at the City Center Matlock exit and 24/7 at GillisAutoCenter.com.
Science Fantastic with Professor Michio Kaku. Saturdays at 5, Sundays at 6 on iFIBER One News Radio.
We have a universe that's expanding like a balloon. And in every astronomy class, the professor takes out a balloon, gets a felt pen, and puts little spirals on the balloon called galaxies. And there we are sitting in the Milky Way galaxy. And then the astronomy professor begins to blow up the balloon. And sure enough, the distance between the balloons expands. So the universe is expanding.
Dirk does it again. I'm Dave Packer reporting on sports. Some clutch shooting on the hardwood Tuesday night. First in the pros, where Dirk Nowitzki does it one more time for the Mavericks.
Dirk trying to get it off the right of the lane. Randall right there on him. 7, 6, 5. Checks the clock. 4. Ripping through. Right baseline. Fade away. Good! With 2.1 seconds left. He did it again.
On KESN as Dirk leads the Mavs past the Lakers 92-90. Meanwhile, in the college ranks, Darius Thompson finishes off a furious rally for Virginia.
In to Hall. He bounces it up, and a 3 for the win is in! And Virginia has apparently stunned Wake Forest on a 3 by Thompson. Oh, my!
On ESPN, as the 11th-ranked Cavaliers scored 14 points in the final minute of play to get past Wake Forest 72-71. Back to the NBA, where the Los Angeles Clippers will be without star forward Blake Griffin after he broke a bone in his hand when throwing a punch at the team's assistant equipment manager. Head coach Doc Rivers met with the media before his team's game on Tuesday in Indiana to discuss the incident.
We have to move forward. We have to, figure out the best way to deal with this.
Griffin is expected to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks. As for the Clippers game against the Pacers, Chris Paul took control late.
Chris goes to work, picked up by Paul George. Crouching over. He's right on the circle. He lets it fly from 19. The shot on the air. Oh, my goodness. He does it again.
On KFWB, as LA escapes with a 91-89 win, Paul finished with 26 points. Elsewhere in the NBA, the Sixers got the best of the Suns, 113-103. It was Miami 102, Brooklyn 98. The Thunder took down the Knicks 122-119 in overtime. Toronto bested Washington 106-89. Milwaukee defeated Orlando 107-100. And Portland got past Sacramento 112-97. Dave Packer, ABC Sports.
Well, good morning to you. It's Wednesday. It's Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio. I'm Jeff Slakey along with Carol Gardner. We're checking sports and weather. And a good morning to you, Carol.
Good morning.
Have the sports in just a second, but currently, what's the forecast?
It's 49 and in between rain showers, I believe.
Okay. We had a great matchup last night. Sean Wells was at the Mini Dome, and actually, Sean was up at North Mason doing the North Mason game as they took on Squim, and good stuff by them. Trey Fisher had a game-high 21 points as North Mason knocked off Squim in an overtime thriller. The sophomore Fisher had the first 5 points of the extra extra period, and the Bulldogs outscored the Wolves 11-5 in overtime. Junior Kevin Burrell-Briggs checked in with 16 for North Mason, while senior Dalton Geyer added 14. Be sure to check out the website later today as Sports Director Sean Wells will have full video highlights of the contest, including an interview with North Mason head coach Steve Hackett. Tonight on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com, Sean Wells will have high school video cast for you, girls basketball against Mount Tahoma, and that will be tonight right around 7. The boys are playing in Mount Tahoma to take on them. Tomorrow, sports-wise, it's the Narrows League Diving Championships at Foss, 4:30 for boys swimming. And then, as we mentioned, Sean is going to head up to Lincoln for wrestling as the Lincoln Abes are 6-0. But wait, Shelton High Climbers also 6-0. This is for number 1 in conference, and 7 o'clock is when the wrestling is going to get underway at Lincoln. Again, Sean will be there filming and getting some good interviews for us. There is a boys swimming Narrows League Championship coming up on the 29th. And some wrestling happening on the 30th. Protocol's coming up in a minute, but first we got to check what's up with the weather. And here's Carol.
Good morning. It's 49. Cloudy this morning, becoming steady rain in the afternoon and into the evening. High today near 55. There'll be rain for the rest of the week. Today we might see about 2 inches, and right now it's 49.
Now, from the iFIBER One News Radio studios, it's Daybreak. Providing local news, sports, weather, and interviews to the South South's most important people. You. From business leaders to politicians, from activists for change to advocates for the poor. Your neighbors and newsmakers are here on Daybreak.
Well, good morning to you. It's 8:39 here at iFIBER One News Radio, Daybreak with Jeff and Carol. Hello, Carol.
Good morning, Jeff.
It's a great talk about transit with Kathy Geist and Chuck Orthman here just a few minutes ago on Daybreak during Transit Talk. We've got more coming up throughout the rest of the week with great guests, and tomorrow is Thursday, which means we'll be having our focus on Shelton. Friday, Dr. Alex Apostle will be in, and more guests aplenty as the week continues. It is Protocol in just a few moments, but first we want to let you know that there's some news stories on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com this morning, and the top story under the local tab is the city's Director of Community and Economic Development has proposed reductions in building permit fees in an attempt to boost construction here in the city. Steve Goins is the man who was having the plan on Monday night, and he proposes a 30% reduction in building fees and a 55% reduction in water and sewer charges and traffic impact fees for new homes. This was initially brought forth by Shelton Mayor Gary Krantz right at the beginning of the year, and there had been some conversations back and forth about how this could get done, and this looks like it could be the way forward. Not keeping all the fees, but not getting rid of all the fees. It's kind of not somewhere in the middle. And in the story on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com, you can kind of see an example. So if we're going to see a new single-family home being built here in the city, the rate charges would go from about $18,000 to about $8,000, savings of about 56%. So that's just one of the latest stories here on iFIBER1NewsRadio.com. Also Monday night at the meeting, they're talking still about the city administrator.
Yeah, they are expected to send out notices this week in an effort to hire a recruitment firm to help find Shelton's next city administrator by midsummer. So Vicki Look is looking into that, and hopefully they'll be getting that going and have somebody signed in mid-May or so.
All right. Very nice. It's 8:41 at iFIBER One, and we'll take this break now. When we come back, Dick Taylor and John Dobson will be on the air for Port of Call right here on iFIBER One News Radio.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER One News Radio.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Look for your free copy of Coffee News, available in restaurants throughout the South Sound and Mason County.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom31.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom31.com. Go to freedom31.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom31.com.
Hi, this is Terry Allen with a look at the community calendar on iFIBER ONE News Radio. Nonprofits post your upcoming events on iFIBER1newsradio.com. The Mason County Senior Activity Center sponsors bingo karaoke at the Shelton Pavilion Friday the 29th from 7 to 10. Lots of excitement and humor in this mixture of bingo games and singing. This month's theme is sports jerseys, beverages, and snacks. Doors open at 6 p.m. for adults 21 and up. For iFIBER ONE News Radio, I'm Terry Allen.
From the iFIBER ONE News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Very good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER ONE News Radio, and time for Port of Call. We have in studio Dick Taylor and John Dobson. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Dive deep into a great conversation here with the port. And what have you guys been working on the past week?
Well, trying to stay alive.
Oh, yeah.
That bad,
Has there been something?
good.
Is this a news story you'd like to tell us about?
No, just hanging in there, you know.
Good.
Yeah, it's quiet times this time of the year out of the port, but we got some stuff going on.
All right.
That we'll talk about. Yeah.
Speaking of drones, we were out watching the drones the other day.
Yeah. Okay, tell us more.
Well, we have a company out there called Simon Metals who is doing the demo of the property out there from under contract with Sierra Pacific, SBI. I had two names there. Anyway, they brought in a driver, if you will, of a drone who was out filming it, and they're putting up a bunch of video cameras, and the company is looking to have a little 3 to 5 minute film clip of what it was to begin with, and then be able to shorten it down, kind of like I don't know if you ever saw the construction of Disneyland, way back when, and it took off about a minute and a half, and you can see the whole thing. Well, they're doing it in reverse.
Oh.
The plant as it was in operation, and then to what it's going to look like when it's all done. So they're starting that type of filming out there. So
very cool.
We didn't know what was going on out there, and I'm watching this drone going back and forth, and I'm with another company that we're talking to, and next thing I know, I see another airplane flying overhead, only he's a little bit lower than he should be. And I started to get a little bit nervous about that, and it's fortunate that the drone operator actually spotted the plane and moved off line, so otherwise it could have been an interesting accident. So, but that was fun to watch. So anyway, we're in the process of heavy demo. They're pulling all the metals out. I'm sorry, all of the wire is out. They're now starting to cut away with the torches, and the steel is starting to come out. And several companies have come in and have bought a lot of the equipment, chunks of it. So maybe the planer mill, that particular piece of equipment is sold to one company, and another company buys another piece. And so they have about 60 days to come in and get that stuff out. And then once it's gone, then they cut away the rest of the steel structure. And so it's fun to watch. It's,
I bet.
You don't just go out there without having hard hats on and that. It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So
when it's done, you're just going to have a blank slate to work with.
Yeah, kind of. The hope is that we'll have the building, you'll have the roof, you'll have half the sides, but the floor is going to be the real challenge. The floor and the wiring, those are the two things that we're really kind of unknown about. When you build a sawmill, you might need this particular piece of equipment, and it needs to have certain platforms to be mounted to. So you just pour a concrete block there and a concrete block here, but when the equipment is removed, those blocks of concrete remain. So that's back up to us, the port, to try to figure out how to get that concrete out. So then we have to figure out how to level the floor and put down new floors, and at the same time figure out what we're going to do with the wiring, because again, wiring is supporting multiple pieces of equipment, multiple transformers that are in there. One piece went from point A to point B, and then they teed off in the middle of that and went over and fed some other portion of the building. So that's really the challenge. Like I said, none of us have ever torn one down. Brandon is really doing a great job on figuring that out, and SPI has been real great with us. They brought in their electrical engineers, et cetera. So we're working through it, but we'll make it happen.
How thick are some of these concrete pads?
Oh gosh, you could probably take this building and pour one concrete pad out
of
it.
They're huge. Some of them are huge.
Oh my gosh.
We have one of the things we were just talking about today, because we actually have a set. So there are scales out there. Now think about scales for large trucks to drive up on, and they weigh them, and so they know how much wood's coming in or out. So, but to put that scale in place, you have to pour concrete foundations. And we have some that are probably left over from a previous mill site that nobody wanted to take out. And they're at least, probably 20 feet wide, maybe 7-8 feet deep. So they're just huge. And how do you break those apart too? That's another problem. So we already have our own set. We don't need another set. So as the scales get moved out, we're going to ask them to remove those concrete pads. But, is that part of the equipment, or is that, part of the foundation?
Yeah.
So, anyway, some interesting things.
We need to get Godzilla in there with a jackhammer.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, he might even have a hard time with some of this.
Yeah. Is there a concrete aftermarket, or you can sell this stuff?
I don't know about. Yeah, you can. They grind it up and recycle it.
Okay.
Depending on how clean the stuff is.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
When we first got there, almost 7 years ago, there was a whole pile of large concrete that was on port property, and so we spent $28,000 having a company come in and just jackhammer it apart and then run it through their grinding machine, and it came out with, I'll say, baseball-sized chunks of concrete. And then the question is what do you do with it afterwards?
Yeah.
So a lot of it goes into road beds, or can go into road beds. Ours just kind of went away. So we've got some really nice, solid beds out there on our property for what McFarland Cascade, our pole company, uses it. So anyway.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You can use it to fill sinkholes.
Yeah,
yes, you can.
Yeah.
It's very good for that.
Send it up to Bertha there. They got those singles.
In Seattle for that.
Tell you what.
Yeah, that's true. We hadn't thought about that. So
Put it on the boat, ship it up.
Yeah.
What else is going on in the port?
Annexation.
Annexation. Here we go.
Yes. So we make one phone call, and actually we came over here a bit with the city. The city's they're great to work with. They have a petition form that you have to fill out, and of course then there's a fee, based on the number of acres, et cetera, that are involved with it. So we met with Mr. Goins, and we calculated all of that. But one of the items that we have to do, obviously, our commission has to sign off on this particular form saying that we are one of the main property owners, but then we have to go talk to the next largest property owner, which happens to be DNR. And of course, they wouldn't just say yes and sign. They have to have all of the documentation that goes with it.
Sure.
So now Brandon must have spent half a day yesterday or better, just writing through up all of the documentation of that, putting together the drawings and the pictures and everything else. So that got sent off. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, probably more like a month, we'll get that signed back, and then we can go to the city folk and then make our application and get the annexation started. Because in the meantime, we have a problem on that north dock. Now, we've done some repair work. There's been if you just walk out from the main pier onto the main dock, the north dock, the first part of it was leaning to the left probably about 20 degrees. We've got that fixed. There was a break about a third of the way down, which was right in front of our boathouse, the Port's boathouse. That's been repaired, but about the last probably last 65 feet of the north dock is held together literally with fabric straps. but we can't do any work on it because then we have to go back through the county through all of that permitting process, and so we can't touch it until we get through the annexation process.
Oh,
wow.
So yeah, it's there's a lot more hoops to jump through than I thought.
And then when it's all said and done, the average person who drives past the marina is not going to notice anything.
No, we're not putting up fences or city boundary lines or anything. No, you won't see anything different at all as far as the annexation process.
Just a more streamlined for you guys
Yeah.
in dealing with things.
Right. And then there's one more piece of a grant, and I'm not sure I've got the whole picture on this, but we need to tie in with that 1.5 million that we have. And once that grant's in place, then within a fairly short period of time, we'll start the construction or the removal of some of the pilings and things like that out in the bay. And that whole restoration project will then start moving forward.
Boy, that's going to look really nice.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah,
that's
the citizens will definitely see a difference in that. It's going to take probably 3 to 5 years before it's completed, but once it is done, I think everybody's going to be very proud of the downtown waterfront. And when Sierra Pacific gets their plant up in operation and the way they've got that designed out, I think we're going to see a really major change in downtown Shelton.
So the Port of Olympia along the waterfront there is, I would consider it more commercialized, I suppose. There's a lot of cement walk trails in the restaurants there. Is this going to be similar to that or more woodsy, I guess?
You know,
more natural.
Natural is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, we don't have near the land. Even if we reclaim, there's not enough land like they have in Olympia. I have to admit that is a very nice waterfront with the restaurants and everything else. And we might be able to do some minimal mixed use down there, maybe in about 5 or 6 years, next to the railroad tracks that are there, because we'll be acquiring that piece of land. But the main thing again is public access.
Yeah,
that's really what we're after.
And those are more or less rustic trails.
Yeah,
they're going to be natural.
Those are better. I mean, I think those are better when we go out walking along the port. I mean, you just kind of go up one cement
it's like
path
on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
True. It's nice to have the restaurants there, though.
Well, there is an attractant for that, and obviously they have the farmers market, which is another good piece to that whole area. So there's quite an ambiance, I think, at for the Port of Olympia. But again, they had the land mass to begin with, where we're making land, but rather than
we're not going to be able to walk on it.
That's right.
Where would people park to go walk on the trails?
Well, there's two pieces to this. The city is working on a park and ride, which is on the on the west side of the trestle. So as you make the right turn by Lumberman's to go out underneath the trestle, just before you get to the trestle, that pear orchard is going to be turned into a park and ride.
It already is a park and ride. They're going to develop it.
They're going to it's a place you can park, but they're going to develop it into an actual parking lot. Okay.
Yes, with restroom facilities there. And then they have a trail that does lead right over to the marina. So just as they cross underneath the railroad trestle, then that becomes our responsibility from that point on. And we have some conceptual ideas about running that trail out on over some of the new fill. That'll be part of the seagrass that's coming in, so people get a better chance to get out and see nature, and then that'll work its way right back over to the marina. So I think there's a nice natural connection there, and then of course the city will continue their trail back over to Front Street and then down Front, and that's the debate. How much of that do we do? And I know there's some question about what's the roundabout for the train?
Turntable.
The turnaround.
Roundtable.
The round. Yes, roundhouse.
Roundhouse.
There we go. We'll get there yet. We're not trained people. What can I say?
Roundhouse.
We work on track, but not on roundhouse. Anyway, there's some question about the roundhouse because that is not SPI's property. Simpson still owns that. So the debate is what can we do with that to incorporate that? There's a lot of train buffs around the world that would just love to come in and see that. There is some contamination in it. We all know that. It's diesel range organics. It's not really, really bad stuff. It just needs to get cleaned up, though. So then what do we do with it? Do we turn that into somewhat of a museum? Do we let that go to historical society or a portion thereof and keep a couple of the trains inside? So, but then you've got another problem. Now you're on Front. You've got to get across the tracks. Right. So how do you do that? I mean, you can build and it also has to be for the handicap. So you have to have the ramps that go with that. I mean, that could be $1 million project just in and of itself. And obviously this community can't afford something of that level, but maybe there's a way to get around that. So, but So there's some questions out there that need to be answered, but we will have a trail definitely from the marina, along 3rd to Front Avenue, and then you can continue on Front, then over onto Main Street, and on out you go. So
it's going to be so nice.
All good things.
Man, it's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be a hoot.
All right, guys, thank you very much. It is.
You're cutting us off.
I am cutting you off. We got to get out of here.
Didn't give the hand signal.
Looking at the clock, we're done here. We got to move on to the next thing. We'll talk to you next Wednesday as we surface out of here. And Daybreak will press on, and we'll talk about who's going to be on the show tomorrow here in just a moment.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
If you could wave a wand and change one thing about your house, what would it be?
Hold that thought, but forget the wand. Home improvement isn't magic.
If you're a do-it-yourselfer, we can show you the tricks of the trade for remodeling and repair.
And how to not get fooled when you're...
Listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Science Fantastic with Professor Michio Kaku. Saturdays at 5, Sundays at 6 on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Because of the fact there's been a revolution in paleontology with regards to how we view the dinosaurs. When I was a kid, we learned the dinosaurs were cold-blooded, lumbering creatures, kind of dim-witted. They didn't nurture their young, and that's why they went extinct. They were simply too stupid. Well, now we realize that we were pretty much wrong in how we view dinosaurs.
The craziness is returning to the kennel.
Wiltshire behind his back with a dribble, and he scores. He's got Karnowski to his left, pulls up, shoots, scores, and a foul.
Zags basketball from IMG.
Corners, Nelson driving baseline, and a two-handed throw down dunk. Oh my goodness, Silas Nelson.
From tip-off to the final buzzer.
And throws it down with two hands.
Follow the action all season long on your home for Bulldogs basketball, the Gonzaga IMG Sports Network.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFIBER ONE News Radio.
Well, good morning to you. It is Daybreak here at iFIBER ONE News Radio, AM 1030, FM 103.3. Jeff and Carol here on Daybreak. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, Carol, tomorrow's Thursday.
Yes, it is.
Getting one more day until the weekend is upon us.
Always goes fast after the Wednesday.
Loverboy says everybody's working for the weekend. Do you like that song? Do you like Loverboy in the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
That was probably your jam.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that...
Driving to Tumwater?
No, I wasn't even in the area during that time, but it was a good song.
Mike Wittenberg tomorrow at 7:45. He's a CPA. Tax time.
Everybody's got to do it.
Death and taxes, right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
So Mike Wittenberg will be in at 7:45 tomorrow to let us know about some of the new tax laws that could impact you upcoming. We'll focus on Shelton as well. And then Sean will be in to talk a little bit.
Here's the latest from ABC News.
Hold on. We'll get to you second, ABC Sports. So anyways, Sean will be in at 8:30 to talk about the sports. And included in that is that Lincoln wrestling match, Shelton-Lincoln, tomorrow night. Both teams 6-0. Do not miss it. All right. Now we're out of here. You're listening to iFIBER ONE News Radio on KMAS Shelton.
They told us that we could safely leave. Well, the group that was leaving has a dead man in it. There's another man who left and was in Arizona, and he's in custody. They've said peaceful resolution the whole time, so